everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast. It's a nerdy podcast, and it's hosted by Northern Nerds. I am one of your hosts, Sam.
And I'm your other host, Paul, and I'm joined by a bunch of arseholes.
Where are we?
In real life.
Where are we?
What real people? What is this?
On the casting couch.
This isn't fake taxi.
I don't like this.
No, it's unsafe. So yes, we aren't live.
Nope.
It feels weird not being live. I quite like being live. I don't like this recording shit. But yes, we thought we'd try something different because we always do the podcast through Zoom, and we thought we'd do a bit nice and get everyone be a bit social and be close enough to touch and feel.
Are you real, Jake?
None of us are AIs.
I am.
Yes, we were meant to be joined by the lovely Donna as well, but she's like I say, looking after a family member who's not well. So hope your stepdad gets better soon, Donna. Hope you're okay. But yes, so we are just having a conversation the same way as we kicked off this podcast 2.0. We thought we'd have a conversation with nerds.
Together in one room.
Yes. Sam has fed us, so we haven't got Hungry Sam.
Yeah, which has very graciously let us use the room.
Yes. we are trying different with the setup, so if it looks weird, I do apologise. We are trying...
there's
our production values. Goodwill has been spent about 15 hours this morning well lighting us and making us sit in certain ways and act certain ways.
Isn't it nice to be properly lit and framed?
It's going to damage our retinas.
Yeah, I am sweating like a whore. So.
The literal sun just on a stick over the head.
This one.
I've got radiation sickness, Goodwill.
It's Jake's Hill. What you on about?
So, Sammy, do you want to do your bit?
Oh my god. Which bit?
You can get both bits
The
in.
bit.
I can do both
You
bits.
can do both bits.
Get
Two
your
bits at
out.
once is difficult.
Okay, well,
Get your
We'll
bits
have two
out.
bits at once.
we'll do the first bit. Let's do the first bit. So, how you guys doing? And what you've been watching?
No, we need to do the spoiler thing, the
The disclaimer.
disclaimer.
Do it after this
What?
podcast.
You know what? Do you watch your
So I can just say whatever I want right now.
And
And
then
the
it's not
disclaimer
in the
doesn't
We
apply.
can't edit you out. It's fine.
Oh,
No, you're not live.
well, which camera? Fuck the Tories. Hey, there we go.
There goes our demonetization.
Hey, we'll edit that into the first 10 seconds. Something like that. We've deliberately fucked
Just
up.
over and over again.
Yeah.
Rishi Sunak has unsubscribed from Nerdy Up North.
Oh, okay. Cancelled.
So what have you been watching? Other than Star Trek, because we have the trekking nerds with us.
You do.
So much Star Trek.
So much.
Not as much as some people, though. Like, obviously, like Sarah Peach and her husband, like, they've just been binging it. Like, they were just like, oh, we're on season, 5 of DS9. You're like, you're quick. That's it. I don't watch it that fast.
Do you leave the house?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, they do. Well, like, say Sarah's pregnant with twins, so obviously they've got other time to do stuff as well.
I like the idea that they're doing it, those learn while you sleep things. Where
Yeah.
you put the tapes on. I think they've just got that. They've just got DS9 being
The
fed
rules
into
of
their face.
acquisition.
What if they were watching Star Trek as they're conceived? It could be a Star Trek baby.
Oh, I'm talking about
Could be a Trekkie baby.
Were they creating the next generation?
Big Britain.
Yes.
Yeah.
I found out because they were talking about the twins, and I thought she was talking about her tits at the meeting.
Even did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
You did the sex.
I didn't know that.
What is the sex?
Did Google give you the tips on how to have the sex?
Do I just did I
Good
just
one,
do
Nate.
like a rock or something? I generally didn't know that.
It's
You
because
were just like,
I've actually talked about it since.
Possibly, yes.
Oh gosh.
you were just sitting there with loads of figures being like, I won't ever open these.
Fuck you.
Other world things are happening.
That's right, it's me.
We're conceiving. Precious box.
Actually, the way this is going, Sammy, do you want to do the disclaimer?
I'm gonna get it out the way with.
That's what she said.
Hey, twins. That's good going.
They did
you
it
have
twice.
sex twice? Or...
Oh.
That's I don't understand how this great thing works. But
it's cumulative.
no, like, where does the stork fit into it though? Like I thought.
I'll show you
It
later.
fit in somewhere.
So I thought the whole thing is that the man he blows the trumpet, okay, and
Yeah.
then that summons the stork, and then the stork comes over and fucks his wife. And he's like, "Oh, thanks for that. Here's a baby."
Right.
But it obviously lasts
So
9 months.
So
but
the
it's
stork is
difficult.
everyone's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
that explains everyone.
How do you get the job being the stork?
That's it.
Oh my god. Right. Everything
Signed up to Monster.
everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our
True.
opinions alone. If you want to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us in the comment section where we can have an open discussion. I don't think I want to, but where we can have an open discussion. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism.
I take personal pride that I managed to fit the phrase "and the stork fucks your wife" before the disclaimer.
Well, all the disclaimer does is protect you from people fighting you in the comments.
Because
Yeah,
I've
that's
already,
it.
I've already said beforehand.
So they will fight you for what was before the
Yeah.
disclaimer, but they're not allowed to.
Do you reckon
after.
They need to disprove the stork first.
theory.
They need to.
So what we need is 24-hour surveillance on a stork.
Yeah.
And see how many people he fucks in that day.
Yes.
That's gonna be interesting, isn't it? That's gonna be like that's definitely an
David
OnlyFans
Attenborough
right
going,
there. Only storks.
The stork is prowling today. It's looking in this person's
Oh, it's
window.
in Sunderland.
Does the stork not get tired though? It's probably there's
No.
gonna be a fatigue aspect.
Yeah,
where he's gonna be
Gatorade.
like, "Oh, I just he's
It's
just
a-
I just desperate for a group wank or
Let's
something."
go to the colour comedy expert. Goodall, how do you deal with your tiredness issues with having all the sex with the being Ginger, who is known as the best sexer in the world apparently? Monster. So that is our
There's
proposal there.
sponsorship.
Sponsorships, yes. Monster
Keep
Yeah,
the
sponsors
dog
Monster, if
fucking
you want to
hard.
sponsor us, by all means.
and it keeps Goodwill up all night.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
I do the sex.
This is not how I thought the beginning of this was going to go.
So he's been watching.
What you've been watching.
Stalks, apparently.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
Stork watch.
Stalk.
Oh, could be a whole
With
episode.
stalking.
I will kick it off because I know another person on this couch has seen this movie.
Mhm.
I saw the Barbie movie.
Hey!
Hey!
My mum went to go and see it, and she's like, "I'm really excited." I'm like, "It's not a kids' film."
It's not.
Like, and she was just like, "Oh, well, what's it like?" And I'm like, "It's kind of very political and sort of so, about social issues." And she was like, "Well, I'm still gonna go." And then she came out and she was like, "That wasn't for kids." And I
No,
was like,
that's not it. There is Barbie references in there that not even I got. Like, my mother would get them.
Yeah.
It was crazy. There was a couple sitting next to us. There was a woman and her 2 children, one older and one younger, and the youngest one was flinging herself all over the place. And she was just so restless, and I was getting on my last nerve, like riding my last nerve.
What,
And
kids getting
then-
on Sammy's nerves?
And then all of a sudden, when all the laughing started, when all the funny bits were starting, she was like obnoxiously laughing, and I just went, "Oh, she doesn't get this. This is
Yeah.
what she's bored out of her mind. It's
Yeah.
okay. You can get off my nerve now. It's fine." I was totally okay with the fact that that poor girl had been dragged to a movie. She has no fucking idea what she's watching.
Yeah. That's the thing though. It's like it's a bit weird because you just go, what to, like the Lego movie is like that's what I compare the Barbie movie to in terms of the humor. Like
Yeah.
the humor is very much like the Lego movie, but the Lego movie was universal, where the humor was like, hey, it's got adult stuff in there, but it's got a lot of childish
Yeah.
stuff, so a kid can watch it and not notice, an adult can watch it and appreciate everything. But the Barbie movie, it's like, what would a kid get out of this? Like, not much. And it has an F-bomb in it, which is hilarious. It is bleeped, but
There is a few.
you know when you bleep and you can tell
You
what the
can
word
see
is.
what it is. Ryan Gosling changed my whole opinion on Ryan Gosling in the movie. And if I fucking hear that Ken song one more time on
Yeah.
TikTok, I'm gonna scream.
The worst of the Peaches song though.
Oh, it is.
Speech.
There's
More lyrics.
Oh.
There's more lyrics,
Yeah.
and it's a brilliant song. And I can see this being a musical.
Yeah.
I could see this on
Barbie the
on
musical.
Broadway.
Apparently,
I was annoyed that Oppenheimer wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, I was just like, when are they going to break into song?
Damn it!
Well, it's when they drop the
I
bomb
made the bomb.
and kill.
Now I have become deaf.
Everybody's sterile.
But the Barbie movie was I enjoyed it. Probably not as much as what Michaela did. Michaela really because
But
Michaela.
would you have liked it more if it was a little My Little Pony movie?
Yeah. Because then I could explain to everyone what I meant when I originally brought the My Little Pony comment up. That has not left me. I was watching back a video the other day of us at Nerdfest. Even gets brought up on there too by this twat. He sees a My Little Pony and goes, "Oh, we're in Sammy's territory now."
So, are you excited at the fact that Mattel are going to do a Polly Pocket movie?
I was never a Polly Pocket girl.
Amateur.
The thing is,
I've never owned Barbies, never owned Polly Pockets. So
they did a full series on Mighty Max though, didn't they? Like
He
the male version of
He
Polly
was
Pocket.
Polly Pocket, yeah.
Yeah. I had tons of them.
I
and,
did too. Like that had that giant skull mountain that opened up.
I never got that one. I never got
Why
the
do I
massive
feel like I
lava
do know this?
one. Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a lava man or something.
Yeah.
That was the cool one because I had like a
Yeah,
you
like
know,
things came out of his legs.
Yeah.
And that.
I'm not doing a real life version of My Little Pony.
I don't know. I'm just going to a BronyCon and then
You don't want to be.
Yeah, and
I
I
think it'd be
swear to
pushed in
God,
front
can
of
we
all
go to
the
a
time.
BronyCon? Graham, will you come with us? You come with us.
Is death an option?
To be fair though, I don't think we're that sexually orientated to be a brony because don't they all fuck that as horses there?
What? Do they?
Well,
But all I'm gonna say, okay, is that the
Jake's like,
the
I'm
brony
starting to
world
feel
is
uncomfortable
the brony world has a lot of facets in it,
Yeah.
Right.
and I
Go
would
on.
expect that they would be. Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where My Little Pony, because it existed as this franchise for kids in like the 80s and the 90s and stuff, and then it kind of became a new thing and like got a resurgence, but then it was very much adults taking that and taking it in an adult direction, and a lot of the fans are into it in an adult way as well.
Right.
It would be difficult to do a movie that satisfies everyone, because
Are
if you
you
did one
saying-
just for kids,
Are
it
you
would
saying-
probably disappoint the adult watchers.
Are you saying that My Little Pony is directly responsible for the rise of furryism?
No, because that started in the
that's-
80s.
but no, like
it helped.
the problem with My Little Pony was when they made the new version, they made the horses sexier. So then
and that got Sam
So then
bothered.
so then the dudes were like, "Oh, this there."
I like the only thing
I'd fuck that horse.
Exactly. That was.
But that's the thing.
There's a
It's
clip
as
for you,
simple as that.
Sammy.
But
there's my soundbite.
I always think of like bronies and stuff. Did anyone see that episode of Bob's Burgers? Where Katie goes to
Yes!
BronyCon
Yeah.
and like, it acts so creepy and weird and like
That's
licking
it.
the horses and stuff.
But honestly, like Bob's Burgers does that so well because do you remember the Rocky Horror episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like their fake version. It's just like it's a perfect send up of like a little subculture
Yeah.
that the writers clearly know really well themselves. I love it.
The only thing I saw of like a brony convention was Comic Book Men when they went.
Yeah, and that was uncomfortable as well.
That was
yeah.
really weird.
I went, like when what's he called?
Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson. He got really into it. It was like fuck.
It was because of his niece, who is essentially his daughter,
Yeah.
is a huge My Little Pony fan,
Mhm.
and Sadie has Down syndrome,
Mhm.
and he wanted to bring a My Little Pony that would represent Sadie, and it was sweet but weird at the
Yeah.
same time.
Did he call
How
it
do
Derby?
you represent
Derby
a pony
horse?
with Down syndrome? Like, would
Derby.
he just...
Called it Derby
He
horse.
called it Derby Horse, and he went on
Yeah.
as a cosplayer with it, and
Yeah.
yeah.
There was choices made that day.
Choices made, but it was the intention was incredibly sweet because of his his surrogate daughter that he
Yeah,
has.
he got like
Yeah.
a self portrait of her on his arm tattooed,
Yeah.
but as a zombie.
From The Walking Dead.
Okay, so it's like, okay, it's a Down syndrome horse, and now it's dead. He's like, okay, well, this is a
Yeah,
this is a minefield, and you're managing to step on all of them. So well done.
Comic Book Men done like say it was a good show. It should have lasted probably lasted longer than it should have. To be
lasted longer than it should have, but I used to love it in the first instance.
fair. It was so fake though. That was the
Well,
problem.
this is it.
People walk in and say if they're seeing trying to sell something and they used to haggle saying I want £2,000 for this comic, and they go, I'll give you $5. It's like, oh,
So
fuck
if
me.
you were fans of Tell 'em Steve Dave, Brian Johnson's on there along with Walt Flanagan. They are now spilling all the dirt because their NDAs are over with, and they're telling you all the secrets of everything behind the scenes of Comic Book Men, and they fucking rip it to bits. So yeah,
the
Tell 'em
guests
Steve
are
Dave.
though. But one
I
of
feel
them
bad about that though, where you get someone who's selling something online, and then they're like, "Oh, I want like 150 quid," and I'm like, "How is 20?" And I'm just like, I know that's how haggling starts, but I felt really bad the other day. I was like, I want it, but I'm not paying that. But then I'm being really
so
shit.
bad at haggling. The dress that I wore at Nerdfest, I really wanted it for Nerdfest. And she was like, it was £15, and I went, would you take 10? And she was like, well, no, I've had a lot of interest in it. And I went, that's okay, I'll buy it for 15.
Yeah, that was it.
Just giving in immediately.
Immediately.
That's how Vinted works, isn't it? You say, oh, you want £200 for that? I'll give you £5.
Well, I'm really bad for it as well because, like, sometimes because with Warhammer, there's stuff where I know the value of it, and then you'll get people where I'm
There's
so
value
bad
in-
at how
there's
I
value in
haggle
Warhammer?
upwards.
Are you one of those bastards?
No, it's basically like so someone was selling, like, what was he selling? He was selling a dwarf codex from 8th edition Warhammer, and that usually goes for about 40 or 50
You fucking
quid
nerd.
kind of thing. Yeah, 40, 50 quid. Like it's an army book effectively.
Yeah.
And this guy was just like, oh well, got army books for 15 quid, and I was like, I'll give you 35 for it. And stuff, and I still got it like much cheaper than, like, you know, what I could go for. But I was like, no, you were ripped off if it was like 15.
Wow.
But yeah, so yeah, I'm just really bad at haggling, and a lot of the time people will want to haggle, and I'll just be like, no, I'll just pay the price on it, and they're like Egypt. I was in Egypt, and the guy was just it says like 20 quid, and I was just like, oh, okay, here's 20 quid, and he's just like, oh, you could have it for 15, and this other thing for this, and I'm just like going,
No, I'm like that.
you know, it's
You
like,
totally-
no, it says 20.
Yeah.
You totally
Having to
flipped
pay-
the script on him. He's like, hang on a sec.
He's like, hang on, wait, no, we start lower.
Wait, I can get what I want.
I'm like that, Graham. I can't haggle for shit. If that says £20, I'm you getting £20.
Never take this out to a car boot sale.
Never.
So, Jake, have you watched anything interesting lately?
Oh, I've still just been on the anime train. I
right.
watched the new Dragon Ball Z movie, Superhero, which I was really scared of because the change from 2D animation to 3D animation.
Stop it.
So I don't know if you guys have ever felt like that, where you're like, you know, a change has come. Very good, guys. And you kind of like, you're sitting there thinking like, I might hate this, and you're like really scared to watch it, but I actually had fun, like actually used the 3D well.
Because like, with
But the
anime,
games look fantastic.
Yeah, that's
they
what it looks
really
like.
adapted it really well.
They've done like, it's like 3D models with like, you know, 2D animation over it. So I guess that's easier for the animators.
Just look Graham dead in the eye.
No, stop with the Watsons.
I can no sell anything.
It's an interesting with the anime because when's the One Piece TV show coming out?
End of the month.
We got that confirmed last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
31st of August.
Yeah,
Cancelled on the
that
1st
looks-
of September.
The trailer looks amazing for that.
I might hate it, but like the guy who's playing like Luffy, the main character, he's been going to Japan and everyone's been like, "You're the real Luffy." And stuff like that.
Oh,
So, like,
that's so sweet.
He does, like, he cares a lot, but it's just one of those like when your perfect baby gets remade, it's just scary.
It's a scary thing because with Netflix being involved with it as well, because notoriously they
Is that
haven't
what
treated them
it is?
Yes.
well.
That what was it? Cowboy Bebop. That was not good.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah,
But the animated TV series and film are fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Some of the best anime I've ever watched, and I don't watch a lot of anime, and I absolutely love it. But I was disappointed by the TV show.
I like them both as separate things. So if I like the anime as it was, and I like the live action as it was, I was able to separate them. But it's the fact it's like we're psyching this up and we're building this up for months and months and months and months, and then 3 weeks later, yeah, it's cancelled. See you later, bye. And it's just like Netflix just now has that reputation where if it doesn't pull subscribers within the first fucking 24 hours, it's cancelled.
Yeah.
Which is so weird. Like, it's just like, you need to let things breathe. Like that's the crazy thing we were talking about on Trek or whatever with DS9, where DS9 didn't do well when it was like released on TV because all the channels didn't realize that it was a continuing story. So they just went, oh, we'll play episode 1 and then episode 6 and then episode 3 in that order, and it doesn't really work and people weren't tuning in. Whereas like now that it's on Netflix, you can just binge it. Everyone's like, this is a masterpiece. Like
This is the thing. A lot of shows from the 90s, and I think the pandemic helped this quite a lot. A lot of when nothing was being made, and everyone was like, "Oh, well, I remember this show from 20 years ago," and they're watching it. It's like, this is actually fucking good.
Yeah.
And a lot of shows like Supernatural was brought back to Amazon Prime in the UK, and people were
But
like,
they changed the fucking music though. It
Yeah.
made no sense.
Did they leave?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
they had
Yeah.
to change the whole music for the licensing, and they're like, this is actually like people were like, oh yeah, this is absolutely brilliant because they've never had a chance to watch it.
Yeah.
But then the show they like, oh, we've already got 2.9 million viewers, it's canned, and 2.9 million viewers now, it's like, holy shit, that's game changing. Whereas back in the 90s and the early 2000s, it's just like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
That's just like fucking Sunday Bowls on BBC Two level.
Hang on. Don't be dissing Sunday Bowl.
It's interesting though you're saying that because Netflix released, I think it was like news this week of the most streamed show that they've ever had,
What was it?
And it's not one that you would think. It was Suits.
Ancient Alien.
Suits.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 2.3
Didn't people
billion.
like really jump on that during the pandemic? Was Suits?
Yeah, because it was aired over here. It was aired on Dave of all channels. It was Dave.
Fucking
Right.
Dave.
So, no.
Dave?
But what I mean is,
Who is Dave?
it was a brilliant American TV show, but none of the mainstream networks wanted to pick it up. So it went on to Dave. It got a following on Dave, and then when, like you said, when the pandemic happened, it went on Netflix, and they're like, "This is fucking amazing."
So where does Stranger Things fit into that? Because remember the last season of Stranger Things, that absolutely like blew up.
Stranger Things blew up because it was like first time watchers. But how many times have you watched Stranger Things?
True, that is
I've only watched it
it
twice.
is continuous.
It's
right?
the viewing hours. It's like with
Right,
Friends, when Friends was on Netflix, because people will just have it on constant run, and Netflix looks at viewing hours.
Yeah. How many series does Suits have?
6 or 7.
Yeah, so like Stranger Things, it has like 4, is it?
Yeah,
You know,
the
that's
next
probably.
one's a 15.
All
Yeah.
long ones, yeah.
But that's why the Office, like the likes of the Office and Friends and Parks and
They
Rec,
tried to remove the Office
Yeah.
from Netflix, and that did not go down very
Yeah.
well.
Somebody's still kicking off about it. Fucking hell.
They put it back. They had to because they noticed that their numbers just went boom because they took the American Office
To
of
be
it.
fair though, there's certain shows that will never be removed, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine will never come off Netflix.
Nah.
Community, Big Bang. Them are the like ones that just a constant rotation. But as you said, Stranger Things is the one where people watch. It's like watching
Just
a
there and
movie
then.
premiere.
Yeah.
But how many times can you watch the same movie
Yeah.
over and over
Yeah.
and over again?
Unless you're me, but yes, I get what you mean.
Well, yeah, like Stranger Things is a weird thing because it's also like really like referential and familiar. So I can imagine maybe people on second view and you kind of like, oh, well, yeah, it's like all those 80s films.
it
and then
kind of-
again.
When you watch it, I tried to watch the last season again, and it kind of lost a bit of spark for us because
You
we
knew.
were all in it
Yeah.
at the same time. We were all
Okay,
watching it. We were all like, I've not seen that kind of hype since Endgame.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely a magical time. And I swear, I hope it comes back for the next series but we watched everything that day as a whole community. We all sat and watched it, and
Well,
it was
I
fucking
think-
amazing.
I think with Netflix, they were very clever to do product affiliation with, as that is in the UK, Primark.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was after the Hellfire t-shirts.
I went round trying to get that T-shirt
Yeah.
for
I had
Baron.
him on it.
And
I
I
had
went round-
Carolyn on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, because there's now a Stranger Things store in LA, so it's like a massive store with all the merchandise. But it's like
Isn't that
Netflix.
Netflix topic?
Yeah. But Netflix were very clever, and to a lesser extent, they did it with Georgia Azza with Squid Game and stuff like that. It's they do product affiliation for the time that it's out. So when last season of Netflix Stranger Things came out, Primark just had it fully stocked.
It was after literally the episode when they released the T-shirts. The sold T-shirt. Primark had them in the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember you having it like straight away,
I
and
was
you
just
said,
lucky. I was just in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
But you couldn't get them and the prices. People were charging for them.
Were
just for a
ridiculous.
That's why you bootlegged your own
Yeah.
version.
And I love that. I just noticed because it's on your computer, the whole how we keep saying, "Oh, it's not really a cult," and then literally you have merch
Nerdy
saying
of
"Nerdy of North Cult," and I'm like, "You're not doing a very good job hiding this."
I think
cult."
as soon as the t-shirts came out, you put something on Facebook, and I just
you've
went,
got one.
"Nerdy up North Cults." And he was just, but I just remember Paul just going, "Fuck's sake!" And then he just turned out and did it. And it's like one of the highest selling t-shirts.
Like, it was weird.
We
'cause-
sold 5 T-shirts, so most selling T-shirts ever. 5.
Oh, it's like an infomercial.
But they're all in extra large.
I'd buy that for $1.
We know our audience.
It's weird because we couldn't get a hold of them for ages. Now I have the white version, the black
Yeah,
version,
the
the skinny
The grey
version.
one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I've also got Ant's got the baseball shirt version. So we've got the only one I don't have is the Eddie. I wanted the Eddie like Iron Maiden style.
Oh, I've got that.
I
Yeah.
know you do.
The only thing, the annoying thing about it as well, because when we were doing our dodgy T-shirts, they stopped like the baseball tops you couldn't get either.
Yeah, because everyone.
Because they ran out of stock because everyone was making them.
But yes, dodgy up north. Guys.
Although I will say, while I know we're talking about movies and stuff, but while we're on the subject of Primark, what does everyone think about Wilco shutting down?
Oh no!
That came out of left field, and
So
damn you, B&M!
everyone, like it's weird seeing it from everyone because I totally didn't recognize how dependent I am on Wilco, and like mates of mine who are like set designers, mates of mine who are like sort of prop designers and stuff. They're like,
they don't realize there's crafts and stuff in there.
they're like, oh, all of my stuff is the Wilco brand thing, and I don't know how else to. Yeah,
this house paint is from Wilkinson's. I've only ever bought. Please don't look at the top of the ceiling. I've only ever bought.
Don't look up, guys.
I've only ever bought paint from Wilkinson. I did this all myself, and it was an absolute traumatic experience.
Guys, it's like the Sistine Chapel. The thing.
it's like
I'm more referring to that
of
up
Sam
there.
Goodwill hugging and touching your fingers.
I
Touching the tips,
I
guys.
was don't do that. I was referring to the marks. On
Why
the
have you
top.
done Paul as Michelangelo?
why does he have a massive cock?
Actually, it's the party dude.
No, that's his microphone.
Oh.
There's his cock.
I wonder if I'd had Getty written on it.
But yeah, so
But yeah, Wilkinson's really, really sad. It's sad for the UK. If you are actually an American listener,
But
and I
that's just
don't know
an
if we have
indictment
them.
to, like, say, the shopping and everything's going online now.
I
Like,
know. We don't
how
even
many
have
people
Disney
actually go out and go
But
shopping?
this
But
but
in-
Wilco is basically where I buy everything that I don't buy online, and it feels weird that it's like the last.
but in the same
bastion
vein,
of-
do you
I love
think
that word.
it's literally because of B&M taking over
I
the
know,
high
like,
streets and the retail
No,
part?
I think it's simply because British business just can't work at the minute because we have it where basically
No.
everyone's focused on making profits, but they don't realize that if you pay people more, you make more profits.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But they're kind of like they're very short, and I think what happened because this is the problem with like Wilco. They're like, oh, we've tried money saving measures, and you spend a fortune making self-service checkouts in order to fire the staff and save the money there, but then no one wanted it, and obviously their problems are more than that. But it's this idea of just going, how much did this cost to put
Yeah.
loads of self-service stuff in, train loads of people up on them, rather than just having a couple more employees who are probably only getting minimum wage anyway.
But you think about it as well, like if you look at the size of the stores in World War, the rent that they'll cost, then the light and the gas and electricity, everything on them, like especially with everything that's went up, like the price to run a store like Wilco's is probably far greater than what they were getting on a month to month. So that's the thing.
It's
Probably
sad.
they could have cut down on like the size of the stores and made them smaller and like went a bit more.
So,
like,
are they actually closing for good, or are they just moving
They're,
online?
they're into
14.
what's it called?
Saturday.
Administration.
Oh,
Yeah.
they've got
I
an-
think it's
For-
So
Yeah.
they're in a
It-
position now where someone could potentially come in and buy
So,
them.
so
Yeah.
the
Fingers crossed.
they asked for buyers, they didn't get any, so they went into administration. 14 of the lowest performing are now confirmed to have closed. And then if they can't find anyone and they don't liquidate the assets, the rest of them will close with a risk of
B&M will
12
buy all the stock and we'll get it at half the price.
I'm telling you, that's what
I'm sorry,
that's
but
what-
I am more of a B&M girl now than I am a Wilco. But I
Actually, if
do
you get your
get
turtle
This
figures,
is our civil war.
Okay, hold on. Okay, right. Everyone in the chat, what do you reckon? Are you B&M or are you Wilco? What side will you be on?
in
the wars.
and B&M are better than Wilkins.
Oh,
I think I just don't go to B&M that much because it's such a
You need
the
to.
stores are really confusingly laid
Well,
out. Where you literally one aisle is like, oh, it's picture frames, the next aisle is paint, and then you just like,
Yeah, and then the
But
next
then-
aisle is toys.
Yeah,
and
and
then
then-
toys are getting so like amazing. Apart from Horton. Don't go to my local one in Horton. They don't have no toys.
Yeah.
don't go to Houghton.
you get stabbed in Horton, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's a true story.
I've been stabbed already.
Not where you
But
think.
not the way you're thinking.
But yes, going back to well, staying on like news wise and stuff like that. I know we were talking a little bit before we went live. That's what it's that's it. How to lose teeth and friends. But, aliens.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, we were having a very
Speaking
lovely
of amazing,
conversation with this.
I actually
Speaking of Wilco's,
I watch it. You know the obviously the Shuttle Pod show that we talk about, which is a
No.
wonderful Trek podcast.
oh yeah,
Oh, wonderful friends.
I watched that.
Friends in the States.
We've chatted to
networking.
them.
lovely alert,
Wow.
lovely alert.
Networking.
But yeah, what's his name? Malcolm Reed.
Don Keaton.
Yeah, I thought it was Dominic Keaton, but I was like, maybe that's wrong. But yeah, in one of the episodes, he basically harps on about this amazing show he watched on Netflix called like Ancient Apocalypse, and he's like, "Oh, it's the greatest thing in the entire world. It's so true." And then I watched it. I binged this sort of 8-part series, and I'm sitting there. And have you ever watched one of those like, could this be like Ancient Aliens? Where you just go, could this be proof of this? And you're sitting there being like, no. Okay, move on.
The Netflix one was worse than anything that's been on Ancient Aliens. At least in Ancient Aliens, they try and make sense. And logically, this was just like, that's a star. The world's going to end.
Yeah, but it was really just the conclusions he jumped to, where he was just like going like, oh, well, as this happened, it's like going, because the Earth is round, then birds are blue. And you're like, no, what? How have you...
I turned it off when he was like, this massive disaster happened. This is underground, but big archaeology wouldn't tell you that. And I was
big archaeology.
Yeah, that was
those suits up there with their spades and brushes.
Indiana
I do like the old shit, like
history
or discovery bullshit like they come up with. But yeah, that Netflix thing. So that's twice that Netflix have fucked us over with stuff like that. That mythical one. And when they done the ghost one last year, where they pretended that they had these people that were doing the Warrens test, and then like I said, they set it up like it was like the
it's
Warrens
basically
test.
where you just lie about everything.
Where you stay in a haunted property for 30 days leading up to Halloween, and then it's supposed to like gradually get worse and sure. But
That's
then
what we can do, Graham. We can stay
We do that.
for 30 days.
But it gets to the point I think I talked about in the last Ghost episode we did. That someone fucking pings out a helmet with fucking some LED lights on. When this has helped amplifies the force to speak to the energy. I was like, "Fuck you, Netflix! Fuck you up your arse!"
I've seen, on
It's
those.
like Cerebro or something. Like,
Yeah.
But then he had a massive heart attack and they took him to hospital and then he's going to die. Then had him back in the house the next day. He said, "Oh no, I've got to finish what I'm doing. This demon's too strong." It's like, I want to beat you to death.
oh my god!
I think this is the problem though, where it's the fact of like with the Ancient Apocalypse, there's loads of really interesting stuff in there, like because it does prove that humanity and civilization existed long before we thought it did. So when we were going, oh, people were dumb and in caves and stuff, you're like, no, this was carved like way before that. But then it kind of the fact that it kind of shoehorns it into and thus aliens, and you're just like that, it just seems to jump to that. But rather than focusing on just going, this is kind of amazing, the whole how old things are.
When they focus on the Mayans and they tell the story about the Mayans and what the Mayans did, and like them equations that they actually got how old the universe was is. Mm-hmm. Down like they predicted saying it was 13 billion years old, and the scholars and everything saying it's 12 million.
Yeah,
like that's with all the technology we've got now, and the Mayans said that how many 100 years ago. Like they must have known some shit or something was going on a lot more like that than we know about. Or
it's a case of if you look at. I mean, it was interesting, but as soon as he said big archaeology, I turned it off. But it was a case of this is an example of humanity learning really complex skills, really highly developed ways of engineering. Then there's a catastrophic event that happens, and then they lose that teaching, that knowledge, and then humanity then reverts back an eon or two.
Someone else has to pick it up,
and then someone else has to pick it up.
As we're going through now with the regression of humanity being humans.
True.
We were talking about the apocalyptic things from the 80s, like Threads and The Day After. And
we had a lovely conversation about this.
It was so rosy.
This is what we talked about while we were eating
It was so rosy, but like in Threads, a nuclear war happens, humanity is brought to the brink of extinction, but it shows how key things that we have developed over centuries suddenly just disappears in the space of 20 years, like actual complex human language, engineering, agriculture, and then it's picked up over many decades later from the bottom up again. And that's
I love that you're just describing Redcar.
We just got out agriculture back to
They believe windmills are gods.
Are they not? Are they not?
Well, if you want to go on the beach and pray to them, please be my guest.
To be fair, though, that does make the end of Frankenstein pretty exciting, doesn't it? Just be like, the god is dead. They all the villagers. No wonder Una was screaming.
Yeah.
That's why they were there with pitchforks and stuff. They were great.
But going back to the aliens thing, like say that the US senators announced
we've had full disclosure. I guess is what they like to call it, don't they?
Have they actually used the words full disclosure?
That's kind of what it's called.
Well, it's one of these films where it's a bit weird though, because it's full disclosure, but then there's loads of bits where he's like, "Oh, I can't talk about that," and I'm like, "Well, it's not very full, then, is it?"
It's like the skirt around the question. So they'll ask a question one way, you'll give an answer. So, like saying, "Have you found any aliens?" No. What have you found? We found biology that was not from this Earth.
Yeah.
I was going, okay. Was there a crash site? There was a crash site. Was it piloted by humans? I cannot discuss this. So have you ever found an alien body? I cannot discuss
No,
it.
I think what happened is he's like, was it piloted by humans? And I think he says no, like something that says that it's piloted, but then it's just going, oh, were they living or something? And he doesn't answer. He's like, oh, I can't. There's bits where he effectively says that there are organic life forms that they had.
It was a non-native organic material recovered.
And he's just like, well, if it was piloted, and you said that it was piloted, then I'm thinking it's not a houseplant doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Show us the goo.
But a lot of people thought those hearings were just a cover for what was going on at the same time. But then it's a case of and again we were discussing this where it's like the people who have these pilots, these well-respected, very experienced, multi-decade pilots, where they're like, we saw something that was not native to this planet. It was flown in a way that we cannot physically explain using modern day science. This is what we believe is not from this planet. And then you get the other ones going, they shoved a probe up me butt and made me lick a cow. And then they're using the two.
Well, they did it for free, so stop complaining.
They did it, yeah. And they never called. But it's that, like we discussed, it's are you all right? Was it you?
Sammy's going to post from going back in time.
Was it you?
It didn't happen.
Why do you bother wearing eye makeup, Sammy? You know how it's going to end. You started with mascara and you've got none now.
It was when you looked us dead in the eye, the eyes started filling up, and I had to use my phone to wipe it
Are you
off.
using your psychological powers now?
Yeah,
I am. I'm using my sticky powers.
But it doesn't even have enough recording on Zoom. Sorry, I'm just.
But it's those that they are tied with the same brush. So like, I am being serious. This happened, but then people are like, "Oh, so you're just one of the many other nutcases."
Well, that's the whole thing, though. That you know, because that's the crazy thing. Now that they're actually owning up to stuff and they're going, "Hey, aliens exist." Like, effectively, that is what they've disclosed. Hold on.
Oh, we're not having
Oh, you can't cross the screen.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you that's
monster.
so wrong.
What, they make cheesy popcorn? That's the thing.
But yes.
I've become death.
What's it, Simon?
What's it?
Oh, shit.
That's branding. And it's the same film, but they've just put an orange filter. But what we're saying is, like the fact is in the 90s and stuff where they were basically going, oh, it's misinformation, where they're deliberately putting wackos out there in order to debunk, in order to tar everyone with the same brush. And now it's kind of going, that kind of feels real. Like, obviously it was like, oh yeah, that's just conspiracy theory. And then it's just a bit weird being like, that I can totally imagine a government doing.
Yeah.
Well, look at Roswell. Roswell was only declassified, I believe.
I love how I
it
bought
was
Frasier as soon as you said that. And it's like,
Niles.
Right.
But Roswell was very recently, like everyone knew it was there, and not Roswell, Area 51.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was very recently declassified, and it was, I think it was 2007 when I went, yeah, this place is real.
Yeah.
Was it really then?
No,
So-
Yeah.
no, you could go up to it and see it, but the
It
US
wasn't
government
called-
would never
Say
acknowledge
what it
saying
is.
But it
was.
wasn't called
Did you
Area
ever-
51. It was just like thingy
Well, but the
airfield.
fact that because you couldn't get anywhere near the thing, you couldn't say whether there was an actual facility there.
There's
because
like
of-
there's a mile exclusion zone
Can you-
manned by snipers.
Did you ever listen to or know of a radio station called Coast to Coast?
Yeah,
No,
I've heard of it.
I know of it because obviously
Yeah.
last podcast on the left,
Talk of-
mention it all the time.
They love it because of what it used to do. It was all about conspiracy theories and trying to.
It was like a
Yeah.
late night call-in show.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was
And
real
it
people.
honestly,
But you
if
would
it
get
was still
people
around
phoning in
today-
being like, I've got a probe up my
Yeah.
bum right now. And you're
If
just
it
like,
was still
Cut it
around
off.
today, we would be listening to it. That's
Yeah.
for damn
It's just the
sure.
one with that recording where.
It's not a recording; it's a phone call.
No. What I mean, like, I think I know which. Yeah, go on. I
So
know
the
which
guy,
one.
they're on the show, and phone call comes in, and it's a gentleman who is, you can tell, clearly freaked out. He's just come out of Area 51,
Right.
Yeah.
wow.
and the phone cuts out.
Yeah. There's
He's like talking away for a bit, and he's hesitant. And you can tell he's like, you can almost feel that he's moving around and like kind of watching where he and like pulling the phone away from him, bringing it back, and all of a sudden the phone just cuts out.
But I like the idea that it's coming out that, like, you know, all these things like the X-Files and stuff where it's like, oh, governments have the ability to like tap into your phones and they're listening to everything, and now we're like, oh, there they were, you know, during like, the Cold War. Oh,
I'm so sorry, Michael. I cannot get comfy. I move around all over the place.
This is your sofa, Sam.
I know, but this is
Sammy, just lie across the mall.
It's just me on a regular
Just
basis.
lounge over us.
If you watch
I'll do your
on
hair.
the podcast,
I'm trying to find.
oh, I'll be asleep in a second.
I'm trying to find what he said, because what he actually said, like,
He
if
did
it is
say
real,
something.
if it is
I
real,
remember seeing it.
Yeah.
And well, hearing it, but
if what he said was real, it's fucking terrifying,
Yeah.
because he's like,
And you can hear the fear. in
yeah,
his
he's
voice.
like, they have been around for decades. They have basically they have done a deal.
yeah.
Art Bell.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what it is.
that was always the rumor with Eisenhower, though, wasn't it? Like, he was the first president that...
Art Bell's the
Was
guy
it
who
Eisenhower?
did
Oh, someone
I think. Oh, was it Truman?
Truman.
Yeah.
He was the head of the FBI, wasn't he?
Yeah, Truman. That
He did the
like they've done the whole American Horror Story about it, like
Yeah.
the where aliens came down and Truman said, for your technology, we would sacrifice 2,000 humans for your testing.
That's
and
what
stuff like
did
that.
it.
So that's why this was put. Like there was a
Coast
big
to
hit
coast, yeah.
of different.
Yeah, because that's why in Futurama, when they find Zoidberg, they ship in Truman in a box, and he goes like, breaks out of the box to do the deal with
You
the
do
aliens.
want my internet?
Do
No,
you want
it's all
my
right, I'll
internet?
find
That's
He's
You're
using
sitting there like
his
moving
data.
your phone
You think,
around.
I'm trying to find what
When
he
his
actually
phone
said.
cuts out, we know that the government's watching. You know,
Because
it's
this
like,
podcast cuts out. Just
oh,
imagine.
and it's pre-recorded.
Didn't we-
It's not even on the internet.
That happened on Trekking Up North. We said something, and we were going on about something to do with Facebook, right? And it was like a conspiracy. As we finished discussing it, YouTube and OBS simultaneously started shutting down. So for about 15 seconds, we froze.
What was it? It was me.
And then,
What was I
and then
saying?
we were saying something about Facebook, and then we said it again, and then it happened again. And when we didn't mention it,
Yeah.
when
it
we're
was perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's it.
when we're gonna do
Wow.
when we're gonna do it for the conspiracy podcast episode, we're actually gonna pause it halfway. Like I think, like
Yeah.
shut down.
Oh, there's so many plans that we were going to do behind the scenes, but we never pulled them
I'm
off.
at the
annoyed
11th.
because one of my plans
Yes, we
that I had for
remember.
Nerdy Up North, someone
call
someone knew about it and they told me about it the other day, and I was like, that was a secret.
That was
Was
his
it?
fault
Oh,
because he mentioned it on Twitch.
oh right, oh damn it, we can't do it.
So this call that me and Sammy were on about, right, was September the 11th, 1997.
What a day.
All right.
What a day.
So this is what
At least it's the worst thing ever to happen on that day.
So this is what the fella said. So the fella was on the
Live
phone,
with
and he was audibly crying, and he looked like he sounded like he was moving. What we are thinking of as aliens, Art, they are extra dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of blah, blah, like it gets muffled. Earlier precursor of whatever space program made contact with. They infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment.
Scrolls.
Yeah, particularly Area
This is why I
51.
have to watch Secret
No.
Invasion.
The disasters that are coming, the government knows about them. They want those major population centres wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable. I started, and then the signal cut out for 5 seconds, and then it came back and it said, well, we are now back up system. Something knocked us off the air,
This
Bell
is
reported.
odd.
Yeah. The satellite uplink transmitter had failed without explanation. A thirst for a veteran broadcaster. For the remainder of the night, Bell and his audience speculated on what actually occurred. So what, as this person was
Arsen's just as
explaining,
freaked out as anyone
Yeah.
else, and he does this for a fucking living.
But this is the whole point, though, where the whole thing about aliens being from space and like sort of having big spacecrafts and flying from like Jupiter or something like that, like, you know. In terms of science, they're like, we don't know how this is possible.
Yeah.
But then, as soon as the idea of going, well, what if they're actually just moving between dimensions? Like, you know, that's how. What's the thing? You know, the Event Horizon thing, where it's like where he
No.
folds the
Wormhole.
paper and says, you know,
Yeah,
well,
it's
that's how you.
No.
Yeah, so you're not
Yeah.
like moving speed wise. You're
You're
basically
moving
just
through it.
yeah, and it's kind of like warp
it's,
technology.
it's,
as well.
it's actually
I remembered that.
yeah, it's actually theoretically That's what they're saying. Like warp drive is not.
It's happening in Skinwalker Ranch. Watch it. Honestly.
What do they call it? Like an
But what's
Einstein Rosenberg bridge or something like
But what
that.
they're saying is like warp drive could be possible, but folding a layer of space. So like if that's the layer there and you need to get from there to there, you just do that and you just
I've
jump.
just got to thank Big Bang for all my science.
Funny enough though, because I know I joked watching a Skinwalker Ranch. This because normally like with the History Channel, a lot of the shows are just absolute shit. Like Curse of Skull Island, like they've been.
Isn't it ironic that the
for
History Channel is the one with all of the fake history
Well,
on?
it's like, they've been digging on the island for 10 years and they found two bits of gold. And it's like, oh, there's buried gold. It's like
Mayans.
It's like fuck off. Stop wasting your millions. But yeah, there's one called Skinwalker Ranch, and normally it's pretty out there. It's like, oh, there's a little orb, or there's things to find about. But this season they've focused on an area where above this area there's nothing, you can't see naked eye. But if you do like ultraviolet and stuff, it looks like there's a mist, or like it looks like something that gets dispersed. So what they've done is they've shot laser beams through it, and the laser beam bends.
Wow.
So it actually shows you on screen, like it goes, as soon as it hits a certain point, it bends. This is a NASA scientist that were doing test rockets up. The rockets were firing off in different directions instead of going straight up. As soon as it hits a certain mark, some of them were exploding.
Yeah.
They set up 100 drones, like they've done a million tests, and the drones very rarely fail. And it gets to a certain point, the battery's worn, the drones are failing. Like all these things, and they're saying they don't think it's aliens. Like they refuse to say like UFOs. It's
UA. It's unidentified
object.
It's a UA.
I think they changed the name so they could
UAP
get
or
the domain name.
Yeah.
Unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
But what they've said is they ran a test where something thing, and it lost a half a second on time when it went through this area.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the clock had jumped, so the clock
Yeah.
wasn't in sync with its control.
And when they do GPS tracking, every time it goes through this area, it says the GPS is 100 feet under the ground.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So all these
It's
things.
the portal to the mole.
But
Well.
The mole. Oh, it's going to be from The Incredibles.
But those
The
hearings,
what's the name? The
Underminer.
The Underminer.
those hearings, one thing that they did mention, like they had the UAPs, but they said extra dimensional.
Yeah.
So they were postulating even then, like there were extra dimensions, and this is where they didn't come from space; they came from another dimension, and they were able to cross that threshold in 2 hours.
But that's why the
That's
theorizing now
science.
it's coming along.
Weird
longer.
science.
But I think
Weird
that's fascinating though. That it's like one of the gayest films ever, and despite that, it's like literally about like them bringing a sexy woman into life. You're like, this is a weird flex. Everything about this film is like a bit hom.
To be fair though, the script was wrote in 24 hours. So it was like the first one of the films that he said, I need a film to be made. And he wrote the script and went, make this film. And that's how weird science
It's a great film.
I've never
Do
seen
you-
that.
Let's
Have you
watch
not?
it now.
Don't be shocked.
Do you know like
I've
that's
seen a lot of films.
you know that's Hollywood's dream right now.
Get
Yeah.
the team
Like
Bryan Cranston.
because all that stuff's coming out about the strike, because they basically want people to
Did I
write
watch it
a
at once?
script in a
Priorities.
day.
Yeah.
Do
I'll
you
get AI to
feel?
do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you feel?
Monsters.
Hey, crosstalk, stop it.
Sorry.
Do you feel with all this alien talk that's going on that what the governments of the world are trying to do is because the world is now I believe that if they said now straight away and just divulged and went aliens are real, this is what
Here he is, guys.
I think
It's
what
Jeff.
it's Gary the Ferengi.
Yeah.
I feel that what they're trying to do is slowly prepare the world for the confirmation soon that extraterrestrials are real. Not like fully, but basically say...
I'll probably say in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Probably
You
get the
reckon?
information.
Yeah.
10 years.
The way it's going, the sort of conditioning the populations, like with these hearings and then all the declassified videos to basically say, yeah, they're here. There's been a lot more than what you
Okay.
realise.
So here's a question: do you believe?
Yes.
It'll be quite...
That was really quick.
Yeah.
I think it's scientifically ignorant to assume
Yeah,
that
that's
we
the
are
word
the
I was
only...
looking for. Yeah.
We are the only sentient species in the known universe. I think that in there's trillions and quintillions of stars and
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they say, it's as I said, if they say the universe is 15 billion years old,
I literally looked in your TV and saw the skull, and I did a double take. I was just like, "Oh, it's a ghost." It's literally.
Hey, it's Bonesy.
It was like pipes from fucking like.
if anyone hasn't known, Graham is Doug from Up. He is the dog. As soon as he sees a squirrel, he's like, "Whoops!" But yes, anything shiny.
But I think the thing is though, I mean, I'm very inclined to believe because they've effectively said it's true.
Yeah.
But it's the same as when we were talking about when we did the ghosts podcast, the supernatural one, and I basically I'm a skeptic, but it's because I need proof.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that there's no smoke without fire.
Yeah.
And we would not have so much stuff about aliens or about stuff that isn't human, like if there wasn't something like that's impossible. Like even scientifically, you have to be like, well, there's obviously something that this guy was painting in a cave years ago, or there's obviously something that caused this event.
But this is what they're saying, like the humanity's like major advancement in technology in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the progression of humanity over a course of 1,000 years, it was nothing compared to the blink of an eye 60, 70 years since the 40s, where we've just like, if you look at not even, 80 years now? And it's like, we went from steam.
Oh, these phones are getting smaller.
We went from steam trains and this, and now
you would have hated cars if you were alive back then.
Oh yeah, having to crank.
Not as good as my horse.
Yeah.
But it's like the major advancements. They're like, how have we advanced so quickly? And what they said is like the technology has advanced so quickly, but we as a society, as a culture, has not caught up with that.
But that's the thing. I mean, I think the advance of technology is dangerous. I mean, it's like Birmingham have the wheel now, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Redcard's just discovered fire.
They're going to be able to leave.
Well, actually, all do. No. We've dug a trench. A trench around it.
Like, to answer like Sammy's question, I think I said it would be irresponsible to think that there is no life out there. To think that they can travel like the distance from another planet to our planet, like even if they had technology advancements and survive their travel, that's the far stretch thing. So that's where the interdimensional thing makes more sense. Or if they have got wormhole technology.
I just don't think the government could keep a lid on it.
No.
Because we've seen how the government works.
Well,
the thing is like,
have you ever seen the news and the press conference in America where the guy's like, yes, aliens do exist, and the guy comes out in a fucking alien costume.
People were really mad at him because he was running a local election on that, wasn't he?
And he was mocking people.
That was the thing, because he said, "I'm going to get the truth," and that's why he got elected, because he promised the truth. But
and he came out as
that's why I don't think.
But I think it's
that's why I think there's the levels of the government as well. I think there's the government's the good thing, but then the Illuminati.
I don't even think they shared it with Trump. I generally don't think they shared anything with Trump.
Of course not.
I think this is the difficult thing though, where you get loads of people where they go on a platform where they're like, "Oh, I'm going to find out the truth," and then they kind of stop, and it kind of makes me think that there's basically the truth is so horrendous that they're like, "Oh, I get why we can't tell anyone about this." Like every president that gets sworn in probably gets told about like loads of stuff.
I genuinely don't think they would have with Trump.
But no, I think with Trump, like he would have told everyone. He literally would have.
He would have literally come out and said, "Oh yeah, I know about this. Who shot Kennedy? I'll tell you."
But with Trump, they actually introduced more measures on the nuclear football because of him. It's just that. But with the advancement of telescopic...
Scary, he's still got the codes for that as well.
Oh, they changed it.
No, they've changed it. They put an underscore on the password.
That'll fool him.
We put a 1 on the end, it's fine.
They changed the password to the names of his children.
I'll wait for Boris Johnson as well. Which one?
Which bloody one? But with the advancement of telescopes as well, like high-powered telescopes, and the way that the orbital telescope technology, it's getting to the point where we'll be able to, because they find planets and they'll be able to detect, the presence of oxygen, nitrogen, this is this and this. It's going to get to a point where the resolution is going to be so good.
But didn't they find a fucking door on Mars? There was nothing.
No, it was like it looks like a door, but it's like a bottom of a hill, and
like
the wind is parted it. And it looks like
This
it's
is the problem, though, that was like, that ancient apocalypse thing pointed out how you don't really find right angles in nature very often.
Yeah.
And then they were saying, like, on some things, they were like, yeah, this is kind of a square, which is not a naturally forming thing,
Yeah.
But with telescopes and the ability to look at extra solar planets, if there are aliens out there and they are, in our close vicinity, a good telescope in 20, 30 years would be able to focus on that planet and go, there is artificial light.
Yeah, because on.
But then again, what we're seeing, though, like Paul was saying with the Chattanooga farm, like, what is it, Skinwalker Ranch? It's the fact of they had some kind of. I love that my brain's like, those are the words you get. That's what you get to use. It's like mental Scrabble.
Oh, that's me every day.
But it's like, but they have cloaking technology to use, like the Trek thing. The idea of there's something hovering in the sky, and yet you can't, like, light it affects it differently. And
Well, Wonder Woman did it.
But
this
is
yeah.
what they...
I love how she had an invisible plane, and you're like, that is lazy artists.
Yeah.
This
How do you draw a plane? Don't need to. It's a superhero comic.
they thought that they'd found like a conventional Dyson sphere orbiting a star, which was like a ring of
Which is
energy
crazy.
harvesting panels, and they were like, that is, the Dyson sphere is like when a civilization reaches a certain point.
You think he's talking about over?
when a civilization gets to a point, they can suck
This
everything
is like
up.
our viewers
Yeah.
wet.
But they
My
can-
husband's going to be kicking himself that he's not part of this conversation right now.
He's sitting in the room going, "I want this."
Yeah.
He's on the computer there yelling at 8-year-olds on Call of Duty. So that's what he's doing.
First of all,
Taking it out on them.
feed me. Thank you.
I think I told this story before on, like, say, the conspiracy theorist ones. Like, one of my favorite ones, like close to us, where things that they're trying to hide from us is that, like, say, the moon's got, like, a colony of aliens that
On the other side.
other side,
Yeah.
where you can't see. But
Oh, dark
Does this is me being dumb? The moon doesn't rotate fully, does
No.
it? Like,
No.
so there is a bit that we're never
never
ever going to
gonna
see.
see.
No.
You can only,
I bet it just says humans are shit.
yeah.
In massive letters.
Oh,
Won't see
Neil
that.
Armstrong just wrote cunt.
Go back,
You just drew a cock on it.
going back to that, like, say, the Neil Armstrong, like, moon mission, because there's loads of things that happened, or, like, apparently things that happened as well, because the missed where they were meant to be landing by a couple of miles, so it spent up loads of space because of they couldn't land where they wanted to. There was 2 minutes of unaired voice recording where they could go to, like, the medical, like they could flick onto the medical where they can only speak to the medical, and that was, like, a way to get around it, where apparently loads of transition radios picked up, and the recording is basically Neil Armstrong saying they're over there,
Yeah.
they're watching us. They're not engaging. All they're doing is watching. And that
I've
was the-
never fucking heard
Oh
that.
no, I have heard this.
There's
You know-
so much of the Apollo mission.
Do you know though that spurred on that Transformers movie?
Oh, well, and,
Oh, did something good came from it?
and that was basically the conversation that was had. Then he went back, and
Did
that's
the
why,
thing.
like, say, they went to the moon a few times, but they've never went certain parts of it because
Yeah.
apparently they know of them, and now they're interacting, conversation, like. The conversation is, but
Wow.
there's supposed to be like an alien colony.
Like, I'm
like-
generally not being like a dick. I did not know any of that. Like,
You were on the podcast, so we talked about
You were like, I've
know
done
what-
my disclaimer. I'm
you
fine.
know what my memory's like. It's
No, I know.
shocking. So I can't remember half the stuff. But no, I don't feel like I knew that. I feel like I would have come back to it. But what was I going to say? Neil Armstrong fascinates the life out of us.
I like how he'll hit people who tell him, like, the moon landing's fake, and he just goes to punch them.
Buzz Aldrin's probably like an animal.
Have you
as
ever
well.
heard why he got the Apollo mission for in the first place?
No.
He was part of the program before Apollo. I can't remember what it was called, but he created, or he did, a catapult technique
Oh, right.
that
To get
allowed
to the
him
moon.
no, to get him back to the slingshot,
They died.
to get him back to Earth. And they were like, okay, fuck this program, let's get Apollo, let's get to the moon. And it was all because of that slingshot movement that he did, was to get them back to Earth.
I think though we're skirting around the issue here as if the moon landing's real.
Oh no!
They
What?
are.
That guy.
Let me tell
I
you.
was just gonna punch the shit out of him.
Well done. In a studio by
Oh.
what's his name? The guy who did
Kubrick.
What
Stanley Kubrick.
Kubrick, yeah, it was all done by
Look, the
Kubrick.
thing is,
Let's go back to the
I've
special
seen
effects
some
that we had.
photoshopped pictures.
It is real because there are reflectors on the moon's surface that
And
scientists can bounce
it
lasers
happened.
off. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
aliens could have put them there.
Yeah.
Or we did go. The footage was that shit. We then
You
reshot
shot
it.
Yeah.
Because
That's actually what I felt. That
because
I
someone
went.
didn't have the
yeah.
lens cap off
Yeah.
when they were there.
I think it's the idea they probably just went like, oh, it's really difficult to transmit video from that distance. Or, you know, like they probably just went like, oh, it looks terrible. Or, oh, he
I
forgot
lose
his...
Wi-Fi at the end of my drive.
I'm on fucking Virgin
But,
Media.
like-
I get barely 30 megaseconds. I'm paid for 500.
Like the
So
cameras
we're not
even
getting
work.
Virgin to sponsor us now, so that's fine.
It is the internet
They're not
game
even
right now.
virgins. I'm just saying. it.
BT,
I
you
spoke
know
to
where
that
to
guy
go.
on the phone. He's a whole.
But yes, but like I said, I didn't expect this to go into a whole conspiracy episode. But we'll probably do one soon, like I said, knowing how we go. The only thing, like I said, I know what is quite popular, like, or has been popular in the past, and it seems to have died down a lot lately, is the true crime aspect. Like, there's not much. Like,
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
They've oversaturated it.
Yeah.
They've glorified it. They've.
I think it was pretty much that Netflix show, wasn't it, that
The Dharma.
killed it, the
Yeah.
Dharma
The
one.
Dharma
Everyone was
one,
like,
I know it won so many awards and blah blah blah. It was such a bad, tasteless idea.
It
These
romanticized, I think.
Yeah,
I think the musical aspect was also.
terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, just there's so,
Absolutely
so
terrible.
many songs about putting acid in someone's head.
Exactly, but his victims are still alive. His victims'
Yeah.
families, they're still alive. They're like, it's not a case that was,
Mhm.
Jack the Ripper era, like
Yeah.
at that time. This was recent and it was tasteless. Granted, I did watch it.
Yeah, but I'm just like, because when we done the episode on it, like it was like in a big boom, and I noticed since we did the episode, there's not really been any new things that's came out, or like even on the podcast side, a lot of the podcasters have died down as well.
There's actually a lot of true crime on Netflix, but it's cases that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
And because you've never heard of them, no fucker's interested in them. I listen to a podcast called Red Handed,
yeah.
and they go back and do like big cases and cases but they'll go and do the ones that you've never fucking
Like
heard of.
sometimes they touch on like recent stuff as well, which is weird when like the court cases are still happening. It's like, should you really be
Yeah.
making weird
Is
decisions?
this,
You know, it's
is
like,
this the one
is he
with
gonna
the two
crop?
girls? You know, the two girls in the videotape that was just recently surfaced, and they've actually found the guy.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, it was a couple of years ago, and the videotape has surfaced of two missing girls. I don't know if they're holding the camera or it's the actual kidnapper, but it shows you where they are.
Oh wow.
And he's just been found, and his court case is happening. These
TikTok trends are getting out of control.
her who killed our two children, she's just getting a death sentence. See, these are things, they are happening, they are out there, and the stories are like getting told, but because they're not huge cases, and if you ain't watching court TV, you don't know about these crimes that are like taking
I feel like
place.
people
You
like a
think so?
character, don't they? Like,
Yeah, it
like
has to be like a Dharma or a Bundy
a
or
weird
yeah.
character that you can kind of pin a story
And that's
on.
where the true crime comes from, is big name characters.
And that's a shame because obviously, like, we're both fans of last podcast on the left, but it's the idea of like, I don't know, because we sensationalize and we kind of like make these people into bigger than they are.
Yeah.
Like, where we kind of go, oh, darn it. Because I remember because it's kind of difficult to talk about this because basically they were one of my brother's ex-girlfriends when I was like a kid, so I was like 10 or 12. They've transitioned now, so I don't know how it works in terms of pronouns and stuff. But basically, when I knew them,
You're not going to
they
offend
were
anyone,
she.
don't worry.
But it's but basically they were studying to be a criminologist, and they just had this massive crush on Dharma because it was back when he was actually in prison and had the trial and stuff. And yeah, I get it, he was kind of hot, but it was the idea of going, he is a psychopath and he's gay, so it's kind of weird thing. Like now you probably would have a chance, but back then I was
wouldn't. He only went for people who are in minority who would never be missed. That's what a lot of serial killers do. They tend to go for people
Did he
like
know,
prostitute.
like because
So we've got to keep an eye on Goodwill, is that what we're saying?
Protect him
because
at all
obviously
costs.
we've always framed it as he was just desperately looking for love.
No.
But it's like, but then I'm just going, yeah, you're a bit dumb if you're killing people, thinking,
Yeah.
Have you ever read my friend Dharma.
I don't.
It's a graphic.
Don't even,
It's a graphic.
I've just been
comic book.
guessing this whole
Oh,
life.
it's a comic
actually.
book.
Okay,
It's a comic book.
It's a comic book.
Okay,
It's
so
a
as long as
graphic
it's not
comic
wordy.
book.
Yeah.
If it's a porn mag, it'll be fine. You found in a bush in
Seen it.
behind the toilet.
Yeah.
It's a graphic comic book called My Friend Dharma, and it's a guy who actually went he went to school with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he shows you the aspects of Dharma. They kind of showed it in the TV show a bit, that he was a bit of a he was a very bit of an oddball, very much craving attention. He used to do they used to call it the Dharmaism, where he would literally just out of nowhere fall over.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh, really?
yeah, just fall over out of nowhere and just try to be funny and this and he was very desperate for attention. But when it come to his killings, there was a completely different side to him. He on the psychopath scale, he passes every single one, and the main one out of the psychopath scale, which everyone fails
that's a
on.
test.
Yeah,
Should be multiple choice.
Should we all get
Should we
started?
do the test now?
we will all fail it. We will all fail it for one question: is that cruelty to animals?
Right.
That's the one that you'll all fail on. So you'll never be classed as a true psychopath because you cannot. Not one of you will say that you hurt animals.
No.
He cannot say that. That's what he did. That's where it starts from and stems from. He is that person. He is that.
Like he's the test case.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
And everything that he did to them people, he had already done to them animals. He was.
It's escalation. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's massively, and it comes from also a childhood of parents who his mother didn't have much to do with him, and his father was very much. It's Jeffrey.
Oh, Jeffrey.
Oh, Jeffrey.
Oh, Jeffrey. What are we doing?
He's a bit hyperactive.
Yeah.
Have some sugar, that'll calm you down. We've all met them in Wilco's, those parents.
Some E numbers in your smart.
Have a
That's-
tiny
But
kind of
true crime hasn't died down. I just think people are a bit more cautious and careful over who they are following now, or who they. Because I think the Dharma one brought the worst out in a lot of people.
Yeah, because that's like the same. Because when we did the episode, like it was crazy. Like
Selling t-shirts.
yeah, like people were making their own like make your own Dharma pops and stuff like that.
It's really tough because I nearly did a drag number about John Wayne Gacy, and then I thought, this is going to be expensive. It wasn't that it was incredibly bad taste, it was the actual expense of it that stopped me. But it's the idea of, like, you know, I think the problem is, like, we take these people out of context and they become like cartoon characters, essentially, where they become like boogeymen, like is it boogeymen?
Yeah.
Boogeymen.
Boogeymen.
Boogeymen. Some
On
of
the
them are.
Sinister
Not Dom.
podcast, on the Boogie podcast, I kept calling him the Boogeyman because I couldn't say
The
boogie.
Boogeyman.
But I couldn't say boogie. I don't know why. I was like, it doesn't sound right in our accent.
It's weird. We had a whole thing with how you say book.
Book.
Like people say book and book.
Book.
And, yeah, anyway. but I think the problem is because we detach ourselves from it, it makes it easier to make them an archetype or this sort of big, larger than life character. But then, like you're saying, the reality is just going. There are still victims living like John Wayne Gacy is a fucking monster and a dickhead. Like he wasn't like, you know, like people sort of do, you know, pictures of him as Pogo and stuff like that, and like, you know, and there's an allure to it.
And they were under his house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the sort of thing where him and Fred West's like, yes, they should have some kind of interior design show, but
That would be interesting.
That
it would be-
landscaping's amazing.
to be fair, if you've got a small house, you know, they can make the most of it.
I have such a
Get a bit more
controversial
out of
opinion
space
on
out of it.
Fred West.
But yeah, I'm joking about this, but
The
it's a
seriousness of it.
horrendous thing,
Oh,
and I think we're getting a lot of stuff where it's kind of painting it in the real kind of way, but that people are still walking away going, "Oh, this is cool." And you're like,
I think there's a difference of poking fun and joking about it than romanticizing and making something like hero worship.
And also hero worship, and also taken away from the actual victims themselves. In everything, when you remember when the Ted Bundy craze came out on Netflix, not one time did they mention a victim's name.
Yeah.
Not one time did they mention one of those girls' names.
And I get annoyed when they come out saying we've got these new tapes of like the killers and stuff, and it's literally about 10 seconds of voices of what they've said, and it just recaps over the same bullshit.
Bundy was so fucking clever. If he got interviewed by a priest, and this priest was trying to say, you did all of this because of sexual deviant behaviour, and do you know what Bundy turned around and went? He just went, nah, I did. He absolutely played into everything that priest said. He played. If you watch them, they brought a whole fucking series, I think, out on the confession tapes.
Yeah.
He tells you exactly what you want to hear, but he's completely full of shit. The true Bundy you saw was the man who, when the judge turned around to him and said, I wish we could have met under different circumstances. I wish that you'd have chosen a different path. I wish that you'd have become the successful lawyer I know you could be. And you see the fucking shame in that man's eyes when he realizes what he's done and what he could have had. Because that judge fucking he wasn't a bad lawyer.
He would have been a star. Like he could have been like president if he just wasn't a murdering piece of shit.
Exactly. And you see it in his eyes right then that he realizes, shit. All this other bullshit that
Once
you see
again,
of him.
monster.co.uk failing people. As we know. It's like, okay, well, the hours on murder are slightly
should have gone to Indeed.
Exactly.
But going back to like say where you said monsters.co.uk, we all have like say our own
more sponsors that we're not going to get.
Yes. But just trying to think, like a good segue there. Because one thing I wanted to talk about as well.
That happens on a Monday.
Yes. No, but like I was getting there. Like I say, we all now have our own little projects, part of the Nerdy Up North team that we all are involved in. Well, apart from me, I'm
But
just
you're
cast
not
aside.
Apart from you have everything.
You have everything. You are the whole.
You are.
The pieces.
You can just say, I'm appearing on Trekking this week, and we're not allowed to.
I
do you like Jake? I'm playing games with you.
I tried that. Goodwill said no.
Did I? Did I?
I'm joking.
Goodwill doesn't say no.
Goodwill always says no to me. That's
Trying
a
to
little bit of
fist
force.
No,
yes.
but you are the whole.
No, the door's
we are
locked.
the pieces.
But yes, like I said, it's so interesting to see everyone branching out and grow. I know Graham has grown a lot more than everyone.
Graham just been doing everything.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you noticed.
But
That's the party room.
But how are you feeling now? You are branching out and doing your own thing now because it's been more than just a couple of episodes that you like.
Yeah,
think
we're
that
on
we're
14.
doing like say the monsters
We're
up
on
north,
tons.
trekking up north, and then Jake's doing his whole interview. Like side.
I'm catching up.
But how's the confidence going? How are you feeling about it? Like what you are getting from it?
Well, now that I know that it's okay to slip a video in there now and again.
Ooh,
Flip it in. Oh my god.
Go
Joking
on.
aside, I think since I don't know, me and Dan, we have such a chemistry that it didn't. You'll notice on this episode we go off on so many tangents. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter.
We never go on tangents on trekking. It's
What
always
a
just
load of
it's laser guided.
What a load of shit.
Knowledge.
I'm sorry. I'm
But it's
gonna.
through that cloud that bends the lid.
It's okay. Yeah. We are that cloud.
Yeah,
My
The wormhole.
My second disclaimer of the night: I have not watched a full episode of Star Trek, and it's only because
Neither have I, technically.
it's only because I've not. I've reached out and I've asked the question. It's only because I don't watch Star Trek, but I am going to.
It's intimidating, though.
It is because I feel like if I start listening to you, I'm going to start expecting it, and I don't want to go into something expecting. Oh, wait, Graham said this is good. I'm gonna have to wait for this bit. I don't want that to be my experience.
It's a tough one because, like, I was chatting to a guy the other week about Star Trek, and it was weird because he'd watched like Picard season 3, and which is basically a homage to all of the previous stuff.
I've watched the
And
first
it's-
season of Picard.
No,
I know.
there's better. Maybe drill to the temple or fix that. But it's not good. But season 3 of Picard it references so much stuff, and he watched it and he was like, I didn't understand half of what that from
That's
or what
what I
that,
don't
and it was so
understand.
weird because we went into it knowing all of the stuff and that, and it's a bit weird. So you get people now who are going, oh, I have to watch all of DS9 to get what changelings are and what this is.
See, this is it. I
It's-
don't want to do that.
I was
want to-
using you guys to tell me what that stuff
Yeah.
was.
That's why we were like going, are we doing a terrible job at explaining this? Because like people like Beth, they don't watch Star Trek. They have no intention of watching Star Trek. But
I
she's
bet.
there for every single episode, and I'm just like, what are you getting out of this? You know,
She has
ASMR, just us chatting. You know,
I was going to say something really wrong, but I stopped myself. I was like, no, I'm not going to go there.
we've all progressed.
We're all learning. We're all changing.
But yeah, but like I said, other than like talking about the physical episodes, like what you like, how you finding it like with doing the separate projects, like leaving me behind, shall we say?
It was hard to separate it at first, and that's only because I'm so used to Welcome to Nerdy Up North, and like doing that part. Now I've completely and utterly changed it to where I'm not so like my opening's a hell of a lot different. I was trying not to be so structured like I am at the beginning of ours, to make it a bit to have that difference. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, this is probably a question for the actual viewers, where it's like,
what do you like?
Yeah, because it's like,
They won't comment on this.
I genuinely worry with the trekking that we just ramble, and that someone who's actually there as a Trek fan watching it, expecting us to, dissect the episode and talk about the episode, is going to be like, why are they just pissing around that much? So I get a bit worried
I
about
can't
and I
imagine him
enjoy
allowing you to piss around that much.
it's constant, but
we share the same thought, but then the feedback we get is we actually enjoyed it, because the way you can do a review about something and there'll be a million more shows about that, but then it's you do it, but then you go off.
Do you want to know why I changed my opening? Because I heard his. I heard the opening of his one time and I went, oh, fuck this. So I started to research B-movie horror. And I started to try and find keywords, and that's where Master of
with a lot of things it's trial and error. Like so you try something, if something doesn't quite feel natural, you try it again.
But I heard his I was like, oh fuck, that's really good.
And then I was like, I need a catchphrase too. Yeah. If everyone else is going.
I think I'm the one who I started the catchphrase, like stay nerdy, everyone started from there. So.
I love that I didn't know that on the episode, but I did. I was just like, oh fuck, I forgot the catchphrase.
I think I said it.
Mine.
It just came into my brain though, because it was like the podcast is winding down. This is where Sam normally. Oh, she's not here. So it just came out.
But I know, like, as you said, yours is a little bit in its infancy. But how are you finding it, Jake's doing interviews or talking to those
Adam
people?
one was fantastic, and I just put that out there. It was
thank you.
Brilliant.
But that just comes from like being his like best friend and knowing exactly like how
to make him cry. This is what the point is.
But what I have found really hard is talking to people I've never talked to in person before. Because I feel like I get like nervously excited and say like a lot, and I'm like this, I'm like that, and I caught myself doing it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to consciously think about how.
I do that because on the girl podcast we had with when we did Drag Race, I kept saying love it.
To be fair though, it was a fun.
You should have done it with the nails.
So no reason I've stopped doing the name tags just because I don't like them.
I never even noticed.
It's one of them things.
You're not watching it.
It's one of them things.
It. Don't need to watch that again.
I don't like the aesthetic of them, so it kind of like put us off. But then,
I mean, we do introduce ourselves at the beginning.
So I did feel bad because just before we thinking my mind and blank, and I forgot the names of the two lads that were on, and I was like, oh,
it helps. The name. Well, it's also that the name tags I think are a good idea because it allows people who are just watching, because they're not always going to watch the description. If you're watching on the TV, because I watch YouTube mainly on my actual TV, I don't think you can access the description. No. So I watch a video on there and they don't say, oh, this is this person or this is the domain, and they just say, oh, it's in the description. I'm like, oh, that's going to be way more effort than I'm willing to put in to find that. So
I just kept going, love it, great, love it, and I just kept saying, if you hear it back, it's all as it, love it.
Meeting new people doesn't intimidate us
anymore.
I was very
Has it helped with your anxiety?
So when we started doing the show, I was extremely anxious because we were reviewing a show about Star Trek, which is notoriously got.
It's got a big community.
It's not just a big community.
It's 5 people. 5 people in the Star Trek.
But it's those 3 people that are gatekeepers. Are like, oh well, in season 2, episode 4, the stitching's off.
How big is the gate?
It's huge.
Yeah,
the chevrons are all over them.
How big is the gate? That is such gatekeeping. How big is the gate?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, is it like a garden gate and they're all just sort of
crammed
around it? And it's like, well, you can't use it now.
If anything, though, I was more shocked than anything, because we did the show and I was like, oh, we're just going to get negative trekkers, we're going to get people slagging us off and stuff. We have literally, since starting this show in February, we have had 1 person.
It's been way too long. And we had the guy saying I had a hit attack.
That's the one.
Oh, is it? Oh, damn.
He said you said what?
That's our banned
Gitler.
You got banned!
I got annoyed by this because I was like, no, don't ban him. Let's keep him in the chat.
So I was
arch enemy.
Yeah, I'm just like,
you have one now.
He's an emissary of Keiko.
He's your clone and he's slightly younger.
He's mirror universe Synoiz.
He doesn't have the hash,
Did I ever tell you about my hater on Twitter, who was for nearly two and a bit years, was just all the posts were just about slagging me off from when I used to do YouTube.
Well,
back in
let's
the
not
day.
go down that road of people slagging each other off, because I'm not
But-
getting down there.
The funniest part of it is, I never noticed until about 2 years later.
Yeah.
And the only other post he had on there, apart from how much he hated me, was James Corden is a cunt. And,
You're in
it
that
was me, and
category
I was
now.
like,
Oh, no.
Technically
wow.
suggests that he's a man of good taste.
I
Which,
had
you know, makes it a bit of a
I had a whole
quandary.
Twitter page of somebody just slagging me off. And it started
And
when
you were
I
like Thanos going, I haven't even logged in.
I was like,
I don't even know who
It
you.
wasn't until-
Please tell me you sent him that meme.
Oh,
You just
didn't
sent that
I?
to me.
didn't.
I don't
I
know.
Go back,
literally just
do it now. Do it now.
blocked
Live.
him. I blocked him, and I was like, didn't even know this was happening. And it was all stemmed from when I said that if Tom Hardy becomes Boba Fett, get me off this world. And
I
the
agree.
Black Panther reminded us of the Lion King, and it just started from there. Like this tirade of just bullshit.
I think this is the weird thing though, because like I'm a person who doesn't have the time to be a dickhead. Like, you know, the
You
amount of
just are.
I just wonder, yeah, the thing. Just come naturally. Some of us have been naturally gifted, but it's, you know, in dickheadium. Isn't
Yeah.
it? But yeah, but it's the idea of just like, do you have to get up really early to be a dickhead
Yeah.
like
It's
that? Like, do you have to do it? Is there some kind of
full-time
training
job.
montage
It's
or
like
something?
full-time
Yeah,
job.
It
yeah,
is.
you
It's
get up,
literally-
you have your Pop Tarts.
Yeah.
Time to be a dickhead.
Oh my god, I nearly bought pop-up podcast today.
I bought knockoff Pop Tarts from
Yeah,
like Spar
I was
or
gonna-
something, and they're not as
Aldi,
nice.
Aldi do their own. I was
That
like,
was it, that
oh
was
my
it.
god, I was gonna buy some.
No, I bought them, and I'm like, these are not as nice. As
Mhm.
But that's been the biggest shock. That's been the biggest shock. Like the lack of hate
We
that we
need
have
more hate.
seen.
We've
I
had
think
like,
we
we've
need
had-
more haters.
We've had the odd thing on Twitch where like some weirdo will come in and say like a weird thing about like
And
our
that's
hair or
it.
something.
Yeah.
But you just delete them.
Oh,
and it-
gamers with long hair. Ooh,
Yeah.
I think
groundbreaking.
the biggest shock though, the biggest shock for trekking is how welcomed we were made, and then how much people wanted to connect with us and
Yeah,
like
well-
help us grow, and like, hey, we also do this. Do you want to come on this show? Do you want to do this? And like building a network of people.
Goodwill bingo.
It's the magic word for the day.
What was it?
Goodwill always says network.
Oh, no.
Fucking network! I'm getting a T-shirt for you that says networking.
I don't- we need to do it, but we need to make it so it's the logo from the movie Network from the
Yeah.
70s.
Oh my
but
God.
it's
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
Goodwill
And
Network.
sorry.
And it's him just being like, sort of, I want you to go out of your window right now.
So Goodwill's making a good point though.
It
That-
really
that-
was.
Tricky as hell.
I'm so
I'm
sorry,
not
if
going
you-
to stand for
If
it.
you hadn't said, if you didn't say the word network, I wouldn't have lost my shit. I'm
I've never
very
even
sorry.
known actually.
You do. Say that.
Where's the evidence?
But yeah, Goodwill
You
made a
just
good
did.
point. Like the lack of
Sorry.
the lack of the hate towards like you guys.
I haven't had any.
Like I said,
Yeah.
it's been quite refreshing.
I
as well,
aspire
especially
to
with-
get some though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need haters. We need.
Yeah, you
You
get
No,
some
I
hate.
don't.
Me and
I'm
Graham
not
should
for
like
against
have
the
it
horror
try and
community.
concoct a show like the tracks.
We can
That's the
well,
most-
let's why your favorite thing is shit.
Yeah.
Let's start that.
Number one, Star Wars.
Yes, Star Wars. What
fair
a
though,
pile of wank.
I do think that's probably been like a big strong point of us like not getting the hate is because we have focused on the positive side rather than.
I hope so. I'm
Can we
shocked
do
that
this?
I'm.
Can we just literally deliberately antagonize people? Like where we watch a movie, but we try our best to think of bad things.
How
about it.
easy would
Where
it-
we just be like, oh, it's
Like one of
Wasn't
he,
that this
he lives
lady
in people's
history
nightmares and he has a
2000 or
claw
something?
hand. How unrealistic.
But like
Schindler's
how
List. Why is it black and white?
As if that's as if this happened.
Oh my god, we would be absolutely.
That was all of the jokes I was making as Candy started when I went to go and see Oppenheimer. I'm like, hope it has a happy end. And then just be like, oh, that was proper scary, that was, but it's really good that it's just a film.
This is how Graham gets us cancelled. He's already got us demonetised, and now he's going to get us cancelled. Yeah.
The downfall of
downfall
Network.
of
God.
this
Might have ruined
Happened
Sammy's
because-
carpet. So.
Happened to ruin my confidence.
When you mentioned Madeline
Oh,
live, no, you didn't do it live. It was recorded,
So you-
and I
yeah.
was like,
So
I
you're
can't
doing it
edit
right now?
Yeah, I was like, no, because I'm not mentioning the surname. It's fine. And, but he said it, and I was like, I can't edit it, I can't trim it, and I just sat there, and my brain shut down because I was just like,
it's really difficult because in the drag scene, like there's so many jokes about that. There's so many sort of like things, and then you do it in a different context like this, and then just like going, oh, that's not as acceptable. Like, it's like this massive thing, like the amount of jokes about sort of like. Yeah. Although we've all abused the card in Cards Against Humanity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that is a power card. That and Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
And maybe the Jews, actually. These are power cards where you can make these amazing, where you're just like, okay, I have this, I've won this round, I think.
It's in the context of Cards Against Humanity.
It's
Don't
about
worry.
being a terrible person. It doesn't mean, it doesn't mean you mean it, but it's this idea of just going,
Should I cut this bit out?
I am so glad he's not on Monsters on a regular occasion because I could not go up against the horror community for Graham.
yeah, don't that for me.
It's like Frankenstein in real life.
There's so many of
Get
them.
in the wind.
Get in, oh God. It's like a Wicker Man, but it's the idea of like how like, because I found myself very polarizing with movies, like especially where the stuff where I'm just like, I just don't enjoy this. Like Bride of Frankenstein, you and Dan absolutely love it and stuff like that, and it is massively loved and it has a really high IMDb rating, and I'm just like,
It's terrible. It's not a
It's
good
not
film.
the great. No, it's not. It's not. And how we made an episode.
What the fuck's going on with the Jaws? Just explain the Jaws.
We couldn't.
Someone
Do you know
explain that
all,
to us,
do you know
please.
what we said about the Jaws? There's an Olympics when we were in one of them.
Right?
yeah. But I think
That's it.
I think the problem is that what annoys me about it is what I love about Frankenstein is how kind of serious it is in terms of like the science where it's
The
like,
God,
whoa, he managed
the
to do
God
this.
aspect of it and
Yeah,
everything.
and then in the second one it just goes magic, and you're like, that kind of makes
Do you
the
know
whole
what?
thing.
Have you really thought about it when it comes to Frankenstein and monsters? It's a big monster. It's huge.
He's like 7 foot.
We're holding up on it. It's Boris
so Ethan
Karloff.
Adam.
We have actually given every single fucking fact that there is about Boris Karloff in
Yeah.
every other episode because it's been so fucking
Ooh,
difficult
you're gonna
not
have to talk about
So,
like the overarching themes of
what we-
Frankenstein
we're
now.
gonna have to make it really clever,
Yeah.
or wait enough times where everyone's
Everyone's
forgotten
forgotten.
about them ones,
Yeah.
and then going. We were thinking about it the other day. We were like, we've done so much on Frankenstein already without even having a Frankenstein episode yet.
Mhm.
How the fuck are we gonna fill an episode with what we haven't
You
covered?
can't even put Una O'Connor screaming
No.
on loop because she's
No.
not in that one.
No.
Thank
She's
God.
not.
But
She's in the Bride, and he's
Yeah,
in the Bride, and.
Invisible Man again.
Do you know what though? Out of all of the episodes, Wolfman and Invisible Man have been my two
fucking Larry the
favorite
Lurker.
fucking Larry. It's when you brought up Shakira out of nowhere, and me and Dan just went She-Wolf.
I just think they just need to recut the video of it so it's all just footage of like Wolfman, like Larry the Lurker, just being like, look at me. He's such a pervert. Like it's anyway. Sorry.
But the
What's the episode of
What's the
Wolfman? Because
episode?
it's me
It's-
just going. He's a bit.
There's just one moment where Graham just I think it's like the first question I ask on Monsters is if you don't watch it, and it's the only one that ever gets asked is, does make a good monster?
Yeah.
And he just went, no, he's a perv.
Wait, he's not. It's not that he's like just he's a perv, but he's just a shit Wolfman. Like he kills like 3 people, and you're just like,
Well, Invisible Man is still.
He
the
got a
highest.
bit-
To date, Claude Rains' Invisible Man
Yeah.
is the highest out of all of the monsters we have done, has the highest kill count.
he's not higher than Arnie in Commando though.
I have not done Arnie.
Yeah,
yet.
so
How many
technically,
did he
still the
get?
greatest.
Arnie,
the
but
last
Arnie.
scene of Commando, Jake.
But
I love
Arnie
it.
is
How
not.
many?
Is it like 120 guys in
Yeah,
a
I mean,
5-minute
some of
segment?
them's the same.
Yeah, but Claude
guy.
Rains is 122.
Oh no.
Yes, but
but it was
none of
incredible.
them
Crunch the
mean
numbers.
anything compared to Topper Harley from Hot Shots Part 2, who murders an entire village.
Or what about
Yeah.
in Star Wars? When they take away Alderaan?
All those poor
The
contractors.
whole planet.
That's it.
That means what?
What about Cisco? With
Well,
the
Keiko.
Marquis. Mm. Yeah.
Oh
See,
my god.
now we come to the kill counts. But yeah, so what is the future for your little projects?
Well, for monsters, sorry to butt in straight away,
Mm-hmm.
but for monsters, because we realised there's not a lot of monsters. Like there is, and we
Yeah.
could literally do a whole season just.
Can I just ask? Are you guys only on the movie monsters train?
For
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
For now. The idea is that we're going to separate it off a bit. And this week's episode is a special. It's the man behind the makeup.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's the first part of Tom Savini, and this is just an introduction into Tom Savini before we get into the fun side of Tom Savini. We're literally only going up to 1980 when we just stop when Friday the 13th is about to be made. So the second part will be a lot more fun. We just needed people, if they didn't know who he was, to know who he is.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing Man Behind the Makeup and the Man Behind the Monster. So there's different things that we want to branch off to put into,
Well, he's got a lot of film roles. Like, you know, the amount of little cameos he has and stuff is really good. And you forget, like, you know, because he's in
Yeah, but don't give spoilers for tomorrow's episode.
Oh yeah.
As long as it's before, if it's after 1980, we haven't done that second part yet.
Okay, it might be second part because obviously he's in Dawn of the Dead, isn't he?
Dawn of the Dead's a massive part in this one,
It's that.
But we don't talk about his acting. That's the one. The episode is literally called "The Man Behind the Makeup."
Spoilers, but he just screams and gets torn apart. It's not a in-depth role.
No. And there's a reason
I bet it's
behind
harder
it,
than you
which
think
you'll
to
find
do.
out tomorrow.
I know it's not true, but I just love the idea. Like, hiya, I'm Tom Savini. He's just like, wasn't expecting that. Gonna be perfectly honest.
But yeah, we're gonna try and spread the monsters out a bit, put little filler episodes in there. We were also thinking of doing we're actually looking at a kill count episode. All the monsters we've done so far and going through all their greatest kills.
Top kill.
Yep, we're gonna.
I demand if you do an infographic for it, you have to put Arnie on there because he is very high.
The
Like,
first season,
Michael Myers
of
amateur.
Monsters will end at the end of November with Krampus being its final episode, and then we start season 2 at the beginning of January.
Isn't it nice to have seasons, Goodwill? We just have continual.
You just decided to be like, let's cover 1,000 episodes.
Okay,
in random
we'll
order.
start small.
So last Friday's episode, you actually saw me and Graham just like finally admit that we need a week off.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh well, we've got this, and then we got Annette Castle, and then we got this, and I was like, no, we agreed we're having a week off. Did we? Yes. We are having a week off. And you were like, oh, okay.
So that's why we'll do a Firefly episode.
Let's jump
So
in.
for trekking, it's more obviously we've got Lower Decks coming up next month. But,
There's no rest for the wicked, is there?
well, there is for
The
me.
word wicked.
There is for me.
Do the Lower Decks?
When are you going to start doing the interesting ones, like, you know, like the films?
Well,
I
funny you should say that.
I think I'm tempted to fix the wheel, like, or at least reduce the wheel to just the films to make sure that we get a film
Yeah,
episode.
like-
I'm annoyed that the likelihood
Have
of
you
it
got a
coming.
wheel?
Yeah.
But, like,
You stole my Game of Thrones wheel.
Yeah.
is that what you? Yeah.
No, but they do it
But
better.
yeah, we did like. But the problem is, I didn't program it to have any kind of
You stole my
any
Game of
preference
Thrones
on it.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like it should probably
Sorry,
do it
that's
where there's
been
a
bombed
higher
over.
likelihood of a film appearing because there's only like 8 of them.
But what we
than
could do.
an episode.
Oh, yeah.
So what we could
Revelation.
do.
Admittedly, it was thought of
It's a
without
wheel, Graham.
knowledge of
Yeah.
that.
No. Good
Because I
one,
came
you.
up with the idea.
Well, you were
Goodwill always
innocent.
steals the
Because I
Goodwill
came up with the
didn't
idea and I
steal it.
built it, and then Goodwill was like, "Oh, that's a great
So,
idea."
for the movies, we could just do them in chronological order and just review them. We've obviously got Lower
That
Deck.
does involve watching Generations. Though.
Generations is a good one.
Yes, but I mean, if you get through, if you can get through the motion picture and the Final Frontier,
You
can
love
get
that
through
ship
Generations.
scene where it's like
Yeah,
10
that's
minutes of the
yours.
ship.
Oh,
Yeah, I just watched Nemesis on Wednesday, and I
I
was like,
Nemesis.
it's not that bad. Like, it's Tom Hardy being a bit like twirly mustache villain is a bit weird. Where he's just like, well, as you will find, I have my doom ray, and you just go, why are you playing it like this?
Yeah.
Well, when you're meant to be a clone of Picard,
He
can't
really thought that was going to be
it's that
him.
weird thing where you're just going, why are you nothing like Picard?
But it was
When
so
that's the
it
plot.
was so sad because he was a Trekkie. He
Yeah.
deeply researched
Oh,
it and
uh-huh.
it bombed, and it meant
He-
he just went into drugs and alcohol.
He really thought this was
Sad
the
bit of
start of
flop
his
on
career.
Netflix.
Like, this is what was catapulting him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the minute it flopped, he just went into into a.
We are
I mean,
probably
it
doing
doesn't
new
help
look
that-
going forward as well.
So we're on about a new look. What we've also got to do, we've got more people to
Don't
interview.
change my look. Don't change monsters.
You've just got it.
Yeah. We've got more people to come on as guests for episodes. We've got more people to interview. We're doing Annick Castle on the 25th.
That is so amazing.
25th. Yeah,
Friday the 25th. Yeah.
I know this.
Yeah. So we will be speaking to.
Well, keeps your schedule now.
No, literally, I was scared that you were going to be like, so what's next for Trekking Up North, Graham? And I'm like, so diverted. No, we've got at the Annick thing, we are very lucky that we are going to have Sean Ferrick, who we've had on previously, but he's part of What Culture, he's part of Trek Culture, he's a phenomenon on the interwebs. And then we'll also have Stuart Hatton Jr., who is a former Mr. Gay World twice over. He won the title twice.
Amazing.
And now he's the actual organizer of the Mr. Gay Great Britain, Mr. Gay Europe, Mr. MX Drag Great Britain competition.
World.
Yeah, it's this idea where basically he just went, I can do this better. So basically took over the franchise. But no, he is also a massive Trekkie, so it's going to be great sitting down with both of them and basically going, what did you think of Strange New Worlds?
Yeah, and then
Let them talk.
And
Are
then
you doing this for, as in trekking up north?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
this is not their stuff. This is your stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
Amazing.
But then after that, obviously, when the strikes end,
Are they?
hopefully in the next year or so, support the strikes. We have got actors lined up to come on and discuss their roles in Star Trek, what they did, because at the moment the rules are they can't discuss anything like that,
If
can't promote it.
I get caught up, can I come on Trek?
Yeah.
No, Sammy, you are the boss. Remember,
Yeah.
you started all this.
Yeah.
You can tell them to get fucked. You can cancel Trek.
I have never used my power before, ever.
I think it would
Go on, sorry,
it'd be
Tia. I'm
better.
going to cancel Trek. Teenage World.
It's literally it's literally in the opening. No, our continuing mission until we are cancelled and replaced by something superior.
I think definitely, Sammy.
Superior.
What we should do, we shouldn't wait until you've watched all of Trek and stuff. We should have you on while we're doing Lower Decks, because Lower Decks, most of it is like referencing previous like Star Trek, where it's making gags out of it and stuff like Family Guy is like pop culture.
But it explains it.
Why
Yeah,
don't you do
but
an
it's the
episode
idea-
before and after?
Well, if you watch the episodes, we just go, hey, we're going to review this episode. You watch this like episode of Lower Decks, and then we can have you on, and we can be like, did you get enjoyment out of that? Like, did you follow that? And then if you're like, I didn't get what that joke was about, then we can be like, explain that.
I love that.
Like a
That would be better than.
We also want to do a crossover episode.
Yes.
We want to do a Trekking and Monsters episode.
What would we do? Would we
Rick
do the
Berman.
monsters
The monsters
from
of Trek.
Rick Berman?
No, that species.
No, Gareth being gay.
no, keep it topical. Robert Beltran.
Oh.
Oh, look at them, the fucking nerds, man.
So,
we
yeah.
do want to do a crossover episode.
Well, there's
with
so
Trek.
many good monsters. Like the problem is
The
the
Vidians.
monsters. Well, the Vidians are they're a great.
You're giving spoilers now, so
I would
stop
probably,
it.
No, we're not telling you why.
I probably want to do something like Ducat
Oh, yes.
because it's like,
This is not a planning meeting, you know.
so yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves. It's
We
fine.
have these on other occasions.
Not anymore. So, Tia, what do you got planned for the future?
Quite soon. I am on holiday from work, so I'm having a streaming
Yay!
holiday. I'm having a streaming holiday as well. next
You
week.
have holidays
Yes,
from work.
enforced.
You're coming
I
to
did it
LA
myself.
soon.
But
Still working.
I'm in talks with the Sunderland Geek Retreat guys. They want to come on.
They're great.
Yes,
So that'll
they are
be-
nice people.
Because I've always chatted to them at SunnyCon, but never like had a chance to like.
Except Darren, he's a bastard.
He's coming on.
It's brilliant.
But yeah, I kind of just want to keep doing stuff. But I'm thinking I might kind of call it a season at some point, and because it
Yeah.
takes a while to get to corral people and stuff like that and organize things.
It's just we're calling it class into season, having December off because Diana has a very hectic schedule over between now and then, and she is happy to keep the hectic and crazy going, but know that in December she's got some time off.
I think
you know what I mean?
I think
leading
for
up to
me-
Christmas and the New Year.
Yeah, I think for me it's more like because I'm not gonna say I get bored of things, but I like to try. I like to try new creative things, and I'd like to put a stop on things to be able to be like, okay, now I can put some time into something else.
I of everyone get that.
Because I know we were streaming together, but it was great. But then, like, there was so much stuff happening around it. It was just like,
It's the sort of thing like we're going to continue it, but it's the idea of like we can't do it as a weekly thing
because it's a
when
fun thing.
we already have all these commitments. So I have like the Twitch stuff I've got to do. I've got to do all the drag and the girl stuff that appears randomly.
The hardest work
and then
in the
obviously
Northeast right here.
and then like obviously like trekking on Fridays and stuff, and obviously I loathe when we have to move that, for other stuff. But it's like this idea of just committing to another day of the week when we were doing it, but we will do it. We will continue it.
Well, that's the thing. It's nice to have the option and the space to be like, okay, we'll hit this at a different time when everything's good. But
What about our Sunday episode? Because we do a podcast every Sunday.
Yeah.
Do you?
We do.
But every Sunday episode, it's just it's shite and
We're in.
It's the last one. Surprise!
We all got to get this. We just walk out. Just leave it running.
He reminds me.
Lee would just be in the comments going, "No! What do I do?"
You remind me of Ryan.
And Beth just drops her cereal.
You remind me of Ryan Stiles from Hot Shots. He's like, "I'm going to get this big house with a white picket fence, and then when it's all paid off, just going to blow the shit out of it."
You've been watching Hot Shots recently.
Yeah, I know.
You brought it up today.
A Sunday episode, like I said, just trying new things, trying different things, seeing what works, what doesn't work. It's kind of like the tester thing now for other things.
But it's also great fun.
We have got, like I say, the big event coming up in October. Well, a 2-weekend event I didn't expect. We're doing a 24-hour charity podcast where, like I say, you miscreants from the Discord are going to get involved and talk to us, and we're going to tell you to fuck off.
Hi all.
Hi, thanks for watching, by the way.
Leave, like and subscribe.
Share the video.
Thumbs up, not thumbs down.
It doesn't matter. YouTube's like,
say hello to Molly for us.
No, only one person does.
Hi, Nova.
But yes, we are going to be doing 24 hours. We've got plans for that. There's going to be some gaming. There's going to be a quiz. Jess is going to run a quiz. There's going to be, I think, a few people's going to be joining us, like Phoenix Star. I think Sonia said Phoenix Star, not Phoenix Spider. Sorry.
Yeah. They're really good.
Trying to think now. Lots of people's going to be involved in some aspect.
It's going to be an absolute chaotic time, and me and him are going to do 24 hours.
Well, Jake's going to do it as well.
Oh yeah, I wanna go for the gold.
All I'm going to say is it's tough doing a 24-hour stream, because I did one for like a charity like a couple of months ago. Make sure that you work out a good takeaway to use first. Don't be like we did, where we got takeaway and it was shit.
Oh,
I was just being on a 24-hour stream being like this.
yeah.
I have asked my husband to put holidays in. He is there for me 24 for that whole 24 hours.
Is he basically your Just Eat? He's just going like, well, we'd like McDonald's right now.
But I'm sure that'll happen. I think there'll be like random things in the background. There'll be
Ant's hand just coming in a shot.
It's just going to be totally.
It'll be coming in the all right. But yes,
that's an hour. Well, that's 5 minutes of it, Phil.
Two clawed hands with a chain just attached to one.
See if Goodwill can fill a job within 24 hours.
I just know it's going to be very different from the last one. My computer is perfectly fine. There has been no issues. I am there for the whole.
You've just jinxed it all.
I haven't.
No, but the thing I was saying.
2 days from retirement.
Do I have to do 25 hours to make up for the hour that I didn't do on the 12-hour one?
No, we'll put you through that cloud and Skinwalker Ranch. It's fine. What I was saying though, if anything goes wrong, we're gonna be live for a long enough time. You can just drive to one of our houses and pop up on the other camera.
It's so true.
That'd be so good just to punch him in the face.
Yeah,
Punch him off the chair and
Just
be like,
walk up at Jake's and then I did.
Just go up and flash him. It's fine. But
we're sat there giving it. Just Sammy walks into the room, just straight back in and just leaves.
back in the car.
I can't believe you made me watch Lower Deck.
But yes,
Steal my gimmick, will you?
The wheel.
I didn't know you stood a wheel.
No, I love how you're just like, I haven't watched any of the Trekking Up North, and I'm like, I blatantly haven't watched any of the Game of Thrones. So I think we.
yeah.
I haven't actually watched Game of Thrones at all, the show. So I was like, I'm not going to get any of this.
No, you're not.
Too many giant names.
And then the week after, we're going to Nerdfest. So we're doing a live at
Fright Fest.
Fright Fest,
We have such a busy October. On top of our own spooky season that we do during October. We have our own episodes that we do that we've done for the last couple of years. So that's going to be October's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, that was the thing because we kind of like chatted about this like behind the scenes. But like you were trying to get a kind of like a monthly
Put your
theme.
glasses back on.
That's probably going to start next year.
Yeah.
Just like getting the idea.
That's a
and
good
stuff
idea.
Like,
Hit it for like the start of the year.
Yeah, so the Sunday episode we're going to have like instead of like a random episode like this.
Nonce November.
Not them.
Amazing.
Oh.
Monsters could be Epstein.
Yeah.
We could have, we could do retro stuff about people.
For Graham now, just
Yes.
So
Yeah.
just
Not
the
that
royals.
monetization right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Whatever Graham says now is fine.
Well, yeah, I
jokes
think it's going to be like as you said, October will always be a horror month, but then
Yeah.
it's going to be like 80s, like not 80s films, but like 80s. So talking about 80s music,
Oh,
80s
God, the
TV,
80s again.
80s cartoons.
But you gotta hit like a little bit of Christmas as well. So I suppose like it's
No,
it's-
Christmas is cancelled.
I mean,
Sorry
Home
about
Alone
that.
was
We don't really do a lot for Christmas. We
Yeah.
haven't. We
It
did.
gets our lowest views.
No, we did like a Christmas
Yeah.
movie one. We tried to do a Christmas special one.
Yeah.
It just Christmas doesn't work for us, so
Well-
we just don't. What we do though is on after January 1st, we do our
Oh,
year
yearly
review.
review.
yeah.
I think, okay, what we should do is we should think outside the box.
Mm.
I don't know why we were inside the box.
Let's
I
get
don't
out
know
the
if
box.
did we start in the box?
No,
Did
it's
we
okay.
climb in at some? I don't know. But it's the idea of, but we're outside of it now. Well, thinking at least.
Okay.
I think we should do stupid stuff. Like we should do like a blindfolded tree decoration.
Why are you?
Where it could be
telling
me and
people on
Goodwill.
here?
Me and Goodwill trying to decorate a
You're
Christmas
doing,
tree
you're doing what
blindfolded.
you're doing what Jake did the other
That's
day.
not a bauble.
It's
You're
gonna
doing
be like
what Jake
fucking
did the
Home
other day.
Alone.
You're giving an episode away. You did that on Twitch.
Oh no.
Nobody watches
Well,
Twitch.
voted.
It's fine.
Nobody
Nobody
Hang on, we were going to generally
you
do
that.
that.
That was an idea.
What?
When you said let's
Oh,
do
yeah,
a
yes.
whole
Have the
episode where,
fake thing.
where we're reviewing movies that don't
Don't
fucking
exist.
exist, and she
Oh,
hold it
stop.
on the Twitch.
I know, because I really wanted to do that, and I just wanted the whole chat just being like, I googled it and I can't find anything.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
we're
just
going
very
on and says, yes, I've watched that film. It's a brilliant
But
film.
then we're just really sincerely talking about it. We're just like, oh my god, the episode where he becomes a
It was
dog. Like
around
I
the
wasn't
time.
expecting that, but the writing made it actually really believable.
It was
You
when
know,
you
it's-
jumped the shark.
Yeah.
It was around about that time that you were like, yes, let's review movies.
Let's
that
jump the
don't
podcast
fucking
shark.
exist.
Yes. So what's happening next week for you guys then? So you've got Tom Savini.
Tom Savini on
Monday.
Monday, and the following Monday is The Thing with a very special guest.
We got the thing.
I actually
You just
have-
wheeling a massive ice block.
So he would
Dog
class himself as
head.
a Thing expert.
Thing expert.
I think so.
I will tell you that when the
Things
episode
first
finishes
answer.
airing.
Very cool. What about you, two nerds?
It is our whole Horizon Hawaiian episode, isn't it? Captain's Holiday.
It is.
So there's
It's
no
an
uniform.
episode.
It's an episode.
No
It's an episode.
uniform, Hawaiian shirts all
there's
around.
cocktails, Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah.
and- Do you know what's really annoying? I went
What?
to Asda yesterday because I was like, they do loads of Hawaiian stuff during the summer. Not
Yeah.
one goddamn luau necklace anywhere.
Morrison's have some really cool like Hawaiian mugs and shit.
He's just spent nearly $1,000 on Starship.
Basically, the wall of bankruptcy is
It's doubled.
it's a full room of bankruptcy now. Yeah.
Shut the
Your bank's like, you seem to, where's the sudden expenditure? I think when the bank contact you, being like, are you being blackmailed or something? They're like, you send large payments.
No
please.
Barclay card. It was for a good cause. Yes.
I am just that generous.
What about
It
you,
was for
Jake?
those starving orphans.
I'm off. I'm taking a week off from
Hey.
work and from the
Yay.
streaming.
So no,
Well
so
done,
Jake's got nothing.
Jake.
So next week we have a movie review. So
Do
you're
we?
gonna have to watch a film.
What's that?
Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, yes, amazing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've not
I
seen
think
it.
you're.
I love. You know when we were talking? Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Okay. Fuck. Okay. I'm glad I didn't do the
You need a
track
PA.
thing. But yeah, but the bizarrely when we were talking about like Insidious the other day, and basically it was like it has a song at the end of the new Insidious movie.
Ghost, yeah.
Yeah, and it's basically and the director basically said, "Oh, I just love those old movies when the director would also sing the theme song or something and reference Big Trouble in Little China." And I'm like, I don't think these two films could be more different. Like Insidious 5, Big Trouble, like, you know, especially when you hear the song with John Carpenter, and I'm like, it's not his finest work. It's a fun song, but you are just like going, this is 80s old shit.
Well, they did a little bit of that.
Like
that Dragnet rap and stuff like that. That was around a similar time.
The dark days.
So we'll wrap this up. So anything else that we've missed on the conversation that
Watch
we're not going to have again?
Watch Trekking. Watch us on a Sunday. Like, share, and subscribe.
Tickle the bell.
Tickle the bell.
Yeah.
Join the Discord.
Join the
Discord.
Discord.
Maybe.
Which I just discovered. Thanks to Lee.
Discord.
No, like Lee was like, I'll send you a thing on Discord, and I'm like,
He's barely been on Twitter, and then
Oh yeah, I know someone who hasn't been on Twitter.
I logged into Twitter.
A question the other day.
Sorry, I didn't see it.
I logged into Twitter the other day, and it was like, you have 50 notifications, and it's literally every time you
that
text
post I
me.
put on Facebook was aimed you. I put this on Twitter, and no one answered. I was like, "Yeah, Michael, you dick."
Trekkies let you
Jesus
down.
Christ, Goodwill's taking abuse today, hasn't he?
Sorry, life got in the way.
Goodwill on trial. That's what this is.
It was so funny though, because I'd been tagging your Twitter in like all the promos, and I was like, "Have you checked your Twitter?" He was like, "No." I was like, "You've got like 1,500 followers. You've gone from like 80 to like 1,500, and you're just like, oh."
Well, I get annoyed at Twitch, but no, not Twitch, TikTok, because people follow me on there, and I'm like, don't know what you're expecting. It's like, I've a video of you know, I'm just like, oh,
Dirty whores.
If you're lucky, you might get 2 videos a decade. You know?
We are on TikTok because I run it. Twitter, Instagram, Threads. Our Facebook community page is still ever growing.
Yeah, come and chat to us about crap.
Yeah. I'm admitting
Not crap.
someone now.
Look at him do it. Click.
Moderation. Delete.
So yes, thank you all for watching us.
Yep, and so same back time, same back channel.
Stay nerdy, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.